Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Topical. It's number 8 in our long journey towards actually learning something. So, I'm here with my good friend Bailey Coppage. You'll remember him as the person who managed to talk with me for about 2 hours on the NFL and the NBA. Still can't believe we did that.
Yes, hello. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, how was your winter break so far?
It's been pretty good. Haven't done anything except watch college football.
Oh, nice. Have you been watching all the bowls?
Sort of any Power Five stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's really going to heat up in the tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, and New Year's Day. Yeah, the playoff, all that, semifinals.
Oh yeah, but we're not here to talk about college football today, or
Not
why we
today.
hate Baker Mayfield. We're going to talk about Spongebob, actually, which is one of our favorite shared shows.
Yes, a very very iconic cartoon that I'm sure will be around for many years to come.
Oh,
Generations of children should get to know SpongeBob SquarePants.
and know who's the person who lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Yes.
All right, so for anyone who hasn't heard of it, Bailey, how would you give a synopsis for the entire series?
Well, it's interesting. Well, it's basically just the adventures or misadventures of these talking sea creatures under the sea, and it is children like, but there is also some adult humor, like subliminal messages sometimes, to appeal to a teenage to adult audience. But it's just about seeing what all these random characters do.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, the main characters you have are SpongeBob, the title character. He's pretty much a naive child man, and he's
Hmm.
going around trying to get jobs, mostly just one job, and messing around with his friend Patrick, the sea star, who's a bit of a comic relief. He's kind of
Yeah,
slapstick,
a blockhead.
bit of a buffoon, yeah. Then you have
Yeah.
the stingy one, Mr. Krabs. He's the SpongeBob's boss, pretty much just the prototypical boss in a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
Loves his money. Then you got Squidward. He's kind of a dick, but that's
Yeah, that's true.
that's what
But
happens.
he's the realist in the TV show.
Yeah, he'll tell you how it is. Then you
Yeah,
have
seriously.
then you just have a bunch of other random characters that pop in from time to time. Sandy, Larry, the Ice Cream Man, Old Man
Mrs. Puff,
Jenkins. Yeah.
Plankton. Don't forget about Plankton.
Oh yeah, Plankton. He's kind of a super villain, but he sucks at his job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good old irony. We'll
Yeah.
get into it.
So I think we'll start with what you think your top 5 episodes are.
Oh Lord. Well.
Yeah, I didn't prepare you for that one.
No, you didn't. Okay. Well, the first episode of SpongeBob I saw was Ripped Pants because I got this DVD for Christmas when I was 6. It had Nickelodeon's like top 5 most popular episodes for the channel at that time, and it was like one SpongeBob episode and something from like Rugrats and My Life as a Teenage Robot. And so the episode was Rip Pants, and so I watched that like a lot of times, and it was funny, and I like there's a song in it. So I think the first instance of seeing a song in SpongeBob, just like performed.
Yeah.
So a little kind of iconic.
I don't know, with that episode, the song always annoyed me, but I can see how you would really latch onto it.
Especially as a developing child.
Yeah, for me, one of my favorites was always Shanghai, that one with the Flying Dutchman, and like they're just messing around on his ship, and it's just a lot of gags that they're always throwing in. I think it's one of the first with Patchy the Pirate, who's like this weird live action character.
Yep. Who is actually the voice actor for SpongeBob, Tom Kenny.
Oh, really? I didn't know he played Patchy.
Oh, yes, he does.
Oh, well, he's good at changing his voice.
Yes,
he does. He do the
yeah,
parrot
he
too?
does. He's done hundreds of voice acting work. So, very interesting. Such as the Ice King in Adventure Time.
Oh, really? He stuck around.
Mm-hmm.
Is Adventure Time still on the air?
I don't. Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think so.
Yeah, it looks like it is. They have season 9, so.
Okay, good for them.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to get started?
Let's get started.
Alright,
You
so
said
our plan
you
for
said top 5, but whatever.
yeah, it didn't seem like you were gonna come up with any others.
Yeah, I have a favorite, but that's it. But we'll get to that when we get there.
We will.
We'll
And
get there.
the basic plan for today is we're just going to go up and down the list of free websites that we found. We're just going to go through some of the plots for episodes, maybe read some scripts if we're really feeling it, but probably not. And just see if we can go through every single episode and give what we think of each one. Now, just to give you guys an idea of the kind of task we have ahead, how many episodes in total there are. Now, I know they do a lot of like A's, B's, and C's for them. It's like more A's, B's, and C's in algebra class, but what do we got here? I don't know. I would guess around like 600 episodes, but that's entirely off the top of my head. I could be wrong.
It's probably close.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it depends because there's like, are you including like two? Because it's like two small episodes and one big episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2A, 2B, stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean, are you including the A and the B?
I think for ones where it's like an hour-long special, you can't separate them. But for ones like the first one that we're going to be talking about, I think that would be an individual episode, even if it's very short.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
That counts.
So you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the one that started it all. It didn't have any sound, but it sure made an impression. Help Wanted. So what do you think about this episode?
Help Wanted. I saw it had nearly the pilot of SpongeBob is what this is, and it attracted nearly 7 million viewers to the first episode. So people were clearly interested, and it seemed the show was marketed well. I don't know how it was, but they did a good job. I saw this years ago, and I thought it was funny. Had good music and good humor,
Yeah.
And it introduced all the characters well, developed them.
Well, was it anyone but Squidward and SpongeBob?
Mr. Krabs was in it.
He was?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of Reef Blower.
Oh no.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, no, he was definitely in it.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if Patrick was. He might have said hi.
Yeah, I think he walked in with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what's happening in this episode is it's telling the story of SpongeBob getting his job at the Krusty Krab, which does not sound like the most cleanly establishment, but that's not really the point of it. It's just to be an outlet for SpongeBob to be an adult, or pretend to be, I suppose. And overrun by customers in the form of anchovies.
Anchovies, yes, buses. Mr. Krabs can smell them before they arrive, and you see probably like 8 buses.
In a slightly racist moment, yeah.
Yeah. You see 8 buses like circle the Krusty Krab park, and then they all swarm inside, and it's like a tidal wave of fish.
Yeah, they're all climbing up the poles to try and get away from them, and eventually it ends with SpongeBob getting some goofy gadget that can flip over patties and like way faster.
Spatula.
Yeah.
Yep. And then to Squidward's dismay, Mr. Krabs hires him because he made him money, and that's all he cares about.
Yep. Okay, so that's Help Wanted, and then we have the next one, Reef Blower.
Pretty good episode.
Yeah, I originally thought we were talking about Reef Blower, but no. So what happens in a Reef Blower is this is the one I was talking about with no sound. Basically, SpongeBob and Squidward are out around the neighborhood. You got the not the Pirate's Rock, Patrick's Rock. You got Squidward's island house, and then you have the
pineapple.
Yes, the pineapple. Thank you. How could I forget that citrusy invention? And basically, SpongeBob's going around, messing around with his reef blower. It's like a big vacuum thing that sucks up sand. Doesn't really make sense, but. And Squidward's just trying to have a nice day. I think he's at one point sitting on his lawn eating some stupid salad. Then he gets sand on it.
I feel like he was tanning, yeah. And then he got sand blown on him.
Yeah, well, Squidward could use it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just setting up the just one of the conflicts in the entire series of SpongeBob and Squidward messing around, and Squidward getting annoyed by him. And,
yeah. Squidward doesn't like them because he thinks they're inferior in intelligence.
Oh. That makes it sound pretty bad, but yeah, that's probably what he thinks.
Yeah, that's pretty true though.
Yeah, except for some episodes with Patrick.
All right. That's about all for Reef Blower.
Yep. So then we have Tea at the Tree Dome. How would you summarize
All
that?
right. So basically, SpongeBob, I believe, is jellyfishing, and he sees Sandy, I think, wrestling this giant clam on land. So he's confused, and he helps Sandy fight the clam away, basically. And so Sandy was like, "Okay, come back to my place," which she lives in a dome underwater, so she has air and grass and a tree to live in. And so
But they keep their pinkies up.
Yep, and then yeah, and SpongeBob says an iconic line, and then he drinks the water in the vase in front of him that has flowers in it, and then he basically explains to Sandy that they need air, and Sandy's like, "Oops, sorry," and they give them a bowl with water in it, and then so that's how we see Sandy, basically.
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode. It introduced her pretty well. How she's very smart, obviously, and they kind of play up the fact that she's a female, but they ultimately play up the most that she can be naive, just like a lot of the other characters in the series, actually. And
even though she's very smart.
Yes, and like that she doesn't realize everyone else's limitations, let's say.
Yep.
Okay, so that's Tea at a Tree Dome, and that is the end of the first 3 episodes.
Yep, that's pretty good. That is the number premiere, number 1.
Yes.
The first premiere on Nickelodeon. It was probably like 1999 or so.
Yep, May 1st.
Oh, nice. All right.
Then we have one of my favorite episodes, actually, a Bubble Stand, where embarking on one of many kids' childhood adventures, blowing bubbles, and it starts with pretty much what it's starting with is SpongeBob trying to build a bubble stand from scratch, and he chooses to do it right in front of Squidward's house for some reason, and he's just banging away on the hammer, and the show really plays up the fact that it's very noisy, and Squidward's trying to play his clarinet. I believe that's the first time that we get to see that, and
yeah, and he sucks at it.
Yeah. Does he choke on it at one point?
I don't think he chokes on it in that one.
Maybe that was another time. But
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and then eventually Patrick comes out when he finally finishes building the stand, and they just make a bunch of really crazy animals. Well, now... Yeah, that was SpongeBob. Yeah, he just starts making a bunch of really crazy animals. He makes like an elephant, a giraffe.
No, he doesn't make a giraffe.
Yeah.
But SpongeBob blows an elephant, and Patrick says it's a giraffe while he's laughing.
Yeah. And then Squidward eventually joins in. He has to learn the technique, as they call it, which is just SpongeBob doing a bunch of crazy shenanigans and calisthenics. And, yeah, Squidward gets pretty good at it, and eventually he sucks his house up into the surface, and then it all comes down.
He blew a giant bubble, and it worked. Yeah. I don't remember much about that episode other than the giraffe and the bubble to the surface.
Yeah, that giraffe one was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have one of your favorite episodes, Ripped Pants.
Ripped Pants. I already talked about it, basically. It shows SpongeBob's status as kind of a social lowlife because he ripped his pants, and that won't be the last time we see him being like embarrassed in public and being kind of like the weird guy.
Yeah.
In the little fish in the big ocean, if you get my drift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just SpongeBob and Sandy going as friends to the beach, and I believe like he's getting outclassed by Larry, who's like, "Oh, look at me, I have such big muscles," and he's just doing like his Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, and
he got jealous of Sandy. Sandy was like admiring Larry, but not him.
Yeah.
First potential romantic conflict between them, even though it's a sponge and a squirrel, but we're not going to think about that.
And like that's really the only time in the entire series that unless something happens in like season 12 or something, where the writers really try and play up the fact that like there could be some romantic conflict going on there, but they obviously dropped that immediately. So yeah, that's Ripped Pants for you.
Yeah, that's Ripped Pants basically. Oh, here's a good one.
Jellyfishing.
Oh, 3A. Yeah, that's a good one. So, Squidward's in a wheelchair. How did he end up in a wheelchair?
I think he just ended up getting hurt over time. Like he wasn't in the wheel. Oh, that's right. He was going on his bicycle and then he hits a jellyfish.
Yeah. And I think that was SpongeBob's fault. I think. Or was it just a jellyfish? I think it might have been a
No, I
jellyfish.
think Squidward was just being an asshole.
I think a jellyfish like stung him, and he got his tentacles wrapped up in his bike, and then he fell down a cliff
Yeah, and it
like
exploded.
7 different times, and then he exploded. You see him explode.
Yeah.
And that's not the last atomic bomb explosion you'll see in the series.
No.
It's almost like a running gag with Squidward. So
Yeah.
Sponge and Patrick decide you're gonna go jellyfishing in your wheelchair, and Patrick teaches Squidward to firmly grasp his jellyfishing net
Yeah,
by
that was a great gag.
impaling it through his hand, which was
Firmly
kind of
grasp it!
Yeah. And then basically Squidward just ends up getting stung, and they find like the alpha jellyfish, the queen, and Squidward tries to annoy it to like get SpongeBob and Patrick to get stung, and then it just stings him, and he gets like basically struck by lightning.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent. And so yeah, not a good episode for Squidward, but it was funny. It's basically a slapstick episode.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts actually was the very beginning when SpongeBob and Patrick are first starting to head out of the house to go jellyfishing, and like they really play it up and like do a big intense thing where it's like no 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 no.
Yeah.
And it's like a Batman rerun.
It looks like they're loading up to go to war because they get like they have nets in a cabinet, and it looks like it's a play on like your armory closet with your guns hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah, and they even get rope burn.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that now. That's good. That's funny.
Yeah, and now for the character that we originally forgot about. Well, at least I forgot about Plankton.
Yes, that's the title of the episode. Plankton! Exclamation mark.
Yeah. So I need to look up the synopsis of this episode actually, because there's
I
just
remember it.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, basically, SpongeBob's going home from work and it's late, and he hears a voice, and he doesn't see anyone, so he keeps walking, and he steps on Plankton, who was talking to him.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, he was like, "I want the formula." He was like, "No, because I work the Krusty Krab. I'm a good guy. You're the bad guy." So basically, Plankton invents this thing to hijack SpongeBob's brain and walk him to the Krusty Krab to get a Krabby Patty.
Yeah,
so
there's a really funny joke in the middle where he's trying to find like the evil music when he's inside of SpongeBob's head, and like he brought his own like phonograph, I think.
Yeah, whatever.
And like he accidentally placed like some lullaby music. He's like, "Oh crap!" And then he changes it. It was hilarious.
It's like my evil music. Yeah, he roast Squidward.
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
"Shut your mouth, you mediocre clarinet player."
Yeah, because he's trying to walk SpongeBob back out of his house, and he crashes through Squidward's for some reason.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because he can't. He can only walk straight.
Yeah, and that's one of the first instances where you really see Squidward show any compassion for SpongeBob, because he's legitimately concerned at this point. He's like, "Oh my god, this guy just walked through my house. Is he on drugs or something?"
Walked through. Yeah. So yeah, kind of a play on Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, I've never seen that. What's that?
Well, a parasite an alien parasite that takes over your body.
Oh, okay.
So it uses your physical body, and then it has your brain mentally. It mentally thinks, and it just has your body.
Oh, gotcha.
It's like being possessed, sort of.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite parts was at the very end when Plankton's trying to get SpongeBob to drop the Krabby Patty into the formula device that he has, and Plankton falls in, and the machine says, "Plankton, 1% evil, 99% hot gas."
Hot gas.
Yeah.
And he was stuck in the computer, and he said, "Well, this stinks." Because, you're introduced to Karen, his computer wife.
Yeah. What do you think of Karen in the series?
I like Karen.
Yeah.
She just makes fun of Plankton.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to like Karen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good actress, too. Good voice actress.
Yeah, really.
Don't know who it is, but it's a good voice.
Yeah, I'll check later. Okay. So then we have Naughty Nautical Neighbors. Is that the opposite day one?
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
There's a picture here. It looks like SpongeBob and Patrick are mad at each other.
Yeah, it's that one where SpongeBob and Patrick are doing like this weird telephone thing with bubbles, and like I don't know what their fascination with bubbles is, but that's what they're doing. Like
I don't remember this one.
Yeah, so basically they're trying to do like a telephone game across the neighborhood and like put bubbles and have them go across the yard, obviously trying to cross past Squidward's house, and the entire time Squidward can hear what's going on, and he's getting really pissed, and then eventually it ends with Squidward having some pineapple upside down cake that he was planning to eat, and he makes bubbles out of that. And it's really funny while that's happening. He has like this whole suit, like he's pretending that he's gonna go out on the town or something, and pretty much he just makes SpongeBob and Patrick angry at each other because they think that the bubbles are coming from each other, even when the bubbles are in Squidward's voice.
I kind of remember it, but not really. I don't think it was a fantastic episode for me. But
It's kind of just plot developing, and then
yeah.
And then Squidward has to deal with trying to make him friends again because SpongeBob and Patrick are looking for new friends and they want Squidward as a friend.
I see.
And then they're just competing for Squidward's love and in the process trampling over him. And it ends with them doing some seltzer gag, and it is pretty mundane, but Okay, so that's Naughty Nautical Neighbors. Then we have the new character, Mrs. Puff.
Oh, boating school. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Alright, so can you give me a summary of that?
Well, basically, we're introduced to SpongeBob being stuck in driving school, even though I think he's actually 30-something years old.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Because there's kids in his class, basically. So, we're introduced to Mrs. Puff, his boating teacher, who hates him because he won't pass, and he has to deal with him. She has to deal with him because he's very annoying and outgoing. So SpongeBob fails the boat exam, and basically he tells Patrick, "I don't know what I'm going to do," and he's like, "Oh, I'll help you. Driving is easy." So basically, he's like, he takes the boat exam again, and Patrick is in his ear telling him what to do.
Yeah, they literally stuffed a walkie-talkie inside of SpongeBob's head.
That's right. So basically, SpongeBob just kept flooring the gas, usually, which was bad, but Patrick just said, "Use your big toe."
Yeah.
So he did, but then SpongeBob got nervous and he punched the gas again, and we see Mrs. Puff blow up because she's a pufferfish, so she gets gigantic and she destroys the boating school, and she says, "SpongeBob, why?"
Yeah.
Basically, in her blown up voice. So yeah, that's it. And so we're introduced to SpongeBob sucking at driving.
Mm-hmm. And just for a recap of some of the funny jokes they have one where SpongeBob brings in an apple, and they really play it up by having him rub on the apple and give a big smile when he gives it to Mrs. Puff, and Mrs. Puff just eats it in one bite.
Oh,
and then Patrick and SpongeBob's freaking out at the beginning, and Patrick's like, "No, act natural," and then SpongeBob pretends to be a cow for some reason.
Oh, that's weird. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he has the entire time he has some stupid hat that he's wearing to cover up the giant antenna.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
Those boating school episodes are always some of the best.
No one really talks about how they're underwater, but they drive boats.
Yeah, that can't be good for the environment.
They could just be cars. I mean, they might as well be or drive submarines. That would make the most sense, but whatever.
Yeah, maybe it's the ultimate hydrogen fuel cell.
Next episode, a lot of people's favorite episode.
Oh, really?
Many. Oh yeah, people love pizza delivery. Are you kidding me?
Oh, pizza. Dang it, I did it again. I thought we were talking about Home Sweet Pineapple.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, pizza delivery, absolutely.
Yes. Just good voice acting from Tom Kenny and his singing. He sings, and it's just funny. It's just a bunch of gags while they're just abandoned delivering a pizza, and it seems like they're in this just desert of sand, but they're actually a block away from the dude's house the whole time.
Oh, you know what? This is the second episode with Mr. Krabs. So we really haven't seen Mr. Krabs that much to this point.
You're right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's I want more money, so we're starting pizza. And he delivers it. And it's just a painful, not painful, it's painful for them, but it's hilarious
painful for
the
Squidward.
audience.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. We see Squidward suffering and SpongeBob's happiness. We see them, they get hungry because they're quote-unquote abandoned, and they want to eat the pizza. SpongeBob's like, "No, to Squidward, you can't eat the pizza."
Yeah, and this whole running joke about the... Oh. And then there's this whole running joke about the I don't remember if they call it the hillbillies or the hitchhikers, but...
The hitchhikers. Yes,
okay, the hitchhikers, and they're mocking him and doing a hitchhiker dance or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh, they were trying to. Yeah, they were. Oh, what's that called? On the side of the road, trying to get picked up. What's that
they're
called?
doing the backwards thumb thing or something.
Yeah. Was that the one where SpongeBob got on the road? Yeah, he was rattling spoons to get his tricks in.
Yeah, I remember.
He was like, "Hee, hee, hee." Yeah, yeah.
I think that was Squidward with the spoons.
And Squidward's rattling the spoons. Yeah, just like. Oh,
That
that's
was a
good.
great
That's
one.
just a good episode.
Oh, that one's definitely in my top 5.
Yep, and it's like it has a southern feel to it almost, and it all. Well, I'm not gonna spoil the ending. Almost like a plot twist at the
Yeah,
end of the delivery.
yeah, definitely. It turns out that I'm gonna spoil it. Basically,
Go ahead.
they finally get to the pizza guy's house after they realize that they could just use the rock as a hitchhiker device. It's really strange, and then
Yeah,
pretty
I
much
agree.
the guy, he's pretty ungrateful. SpongeBob starts by trying to give him the pizza, and then the guy complains because they don't have his drink or something. And
Yeah, he says, "Where's my drink? My diet Dr. Kelp." That's a planned Dr. Pepper. They're so funny. Ha 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 ha.
yeah, I hope they got paid for
But
that.
but yeah,
And then he refuses to accept it, and SpongeBob goes back to Squidward crying. Squidward tries to stick up for SpongeBob, goes up
yep,
to the guy's face, and the guy says, "Hey, I already told your buddy I'm not accepting this
yeah,
without
he
my
does.
drink." And then he says, "This one's on the house." And he's just frozen in the guy's face.
And then he stuffs it. He actually stuffs it down his throat because Squidward says he ate it all in one bite. He loved it. So
Yeah.
he actually force fed the dude, which is kind of disturbing to think about.
Yeah, good thing they cut away from that part.
Yep. So.
So that's pizza delivery for you guys. Then for the next one, we have Home Sweet Pineapple.
Oh, is this the nematodes?
Yeah, this is the nematodes and like the mom,
Yes.
his parents, and
I don't remember his parents coming.
yeah, like when he was finally getting ready to move at the very end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was a strange episode.
It was a little different because you were introduced to like the nematodes, which are just like they just look like they're actually animals. They just look like worms, and they just devour his house basically.
Yeah, that's the trouble you have when your house is a food.
Yep.
And like they start the whole episode being like, "Oh, SpongeBob has nothing left but a pebble, and he just holds on to the pebble the entire time." Turns out that's a seed for his house.
Yep, and then it just spouts into a pineapple in one fell swoop because that's how growing works.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
the episode is just SpongeBob trying to figure out, does he really have to move? So he starts by trying to live with Patrick for a couple days. That goes horribly wrong by the time night
Oh
comes
yeah,
because
yeah,
Patrick's a really bad sleeper apparently.
yeah. Oh, I remember. Yeah,
Spiders! Ah!
spider. Yeah, yeah, I remember. We also see that Patrick has superhuman strength in picking up his entire house.
Yeah,
So
fear makes
I
people
remember
do
that.
scary
Oh,
things.
that's where that came in. All right. That's good context. Okay, pretty good episode.
Yeah.
I like the nematodes. They're kind of cool.
Yeah, they don't really come up that much.
Yeah, see SpongeBob's parents, which are like, yeah, whatever. They're just old sponges. People think they look like cookies.
Yeah, they look pretty solidly like cookies.
Yeah. So, all right, that's that. Oh, okay. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Ooh. These guys are pretty good recurring characters.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And I think they're pretty. The actors are pretty famous.
Oh, are they?
Who voiced them?
Now I wonder who plays them.
Let me see.
Yeah. In the meantime, what's going on in the plot here is SpongeBob and Patrick are watching their favorite TV show at SpongeBob's house, and they're all they're cosplaying, or I don't even know if you call it cosplaying at that point, but they're just dressed up as Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and pretty much SpongeBob wants to go see his superheroes, so he goes down to Shady Chill's retirement house, which I only remember because I'm looking at the plot right now. And Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy basically say that they're retired, and Barnacle Boy more so to his delight. Mermaid
All
Man
right.
can't
So
really.
let me tell you. Mermaid Man is voiced by Ernest Borgnine, who is an Academy Award winner. He was on the famous kind of sitcom in the 60s, McHale's Navy. He was very popular in the 50s and 60s. Won an Oscar for his 1955 performance in Marty.
Okay.
And Mermaid Man is voiced by Tim Conway, who is also a very famous. He does a lot of voice work. I've seen him work in like other cartoons. He's got a pretty unique voice, which he voices Barnacle Boy. So yeah.
Gotcha. And apparently he was supposed to be called Barnacle Bill, but they just gave up on that for some reason.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Bill. That doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't sound as good. And they're obviously just supposed to be parodies of Batman
Oh,
and
that's
Robin.
funny. Tim Conway was also in McHale's Navy uh, with the other guy who I just said, Burl or whatever his name was. So that's funny. They were recurring characters together.
Yeah, they really stuck with that maritime theme.
On a 60s TV show. That's kind of funny. And he was also on the Carol Burnett show, which was very popular at the time.
Gotcha. And the plot continues with SpongeBob and Patrick basically trying to force them out of retirement, and they try to bring evil to them, and that doesn't really work. They kind of just throw Mermaid Man into a fit. Like, Mermaid Man's really portrayed as being like some person with like Alzheimer's at this point, where he doesn't even remember what he used to do. It's kind of disturbing, actually. But they like go down to the. Do they go down to the Mermaid Lair? No, it's not called that.
No, it's called the. Is it called the Mermaid Lair? I feel like
maybe it is. But yeah, like they come up to the Shady Shoals retirement home. They just scare a bunch of the elderly people. Barnacle Boy tries to kick him out again. Then eventually they just start using superpowers for some reason to kick him out, and they're like, "Ooh, that felt really good. Maybe we should come out of retirement." And then it cuts.
Yeah, I don't remember much from it, honestly, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty uneventful episode, mostly just introducing the two.
Yep. Okay.
Now this is a more memorable episode.
Yeah, this is pretty iconic.
All right, so how would you summarize Pickles?
Well, at this point, we know SpongeBob is a very good chef, making the Krabby Patty, and he never messes up. And we see him at the beginning make the Krabby Patty in a very certain order, putting some ingredients, on top or on bottom of others, depending on where they belong, because they can't go anywhere else. So he's like a perfectionist almost. We see Bubble Bass come in, which is a new character, basically just a giant sea bass who's like ugly green and has glasses and like 5 o'clock shadow or just stubble because he's unkempt.
Yeah, he's supposed to be some food critic or something.
He is kind of a food critic. He's picky, and he says, "I'll have the triple Krabby Patty deluxe with blah 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 blah." And then Squidward's like, "SpongeBob," and then he's like, "SpongeBob already made it as he was saying it." And then Bubba said, "Oh, there's no pickle on it," and he's like, "What? That's impossible." And then he showed him, and there was no pickle for right now.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob was like losing his mind because he never messes up. And basically, he kind of takes a hiatus from work because he can't focus. And he tries making the patty at home, and he's like, he forgets the order. He's so out of it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Krabs comes over and helps him, and he's like, he gets his confidence back, and he goes back to there. And Bubble Bass is waiting again. And he's like, "You forgot the pickles again," says Bubble Bass. And he's like, "That's impossible." And everyone's like, "Oh, SpongeBob sucks." And then Bubble Bass is laughing his ugly laugh. And then SpongeBob says, "Wait a minute," and grabs his tongue. And the pickles were under his tongue the whole time, along with, like, people's car keys.
Yeah. That was a funny one.
And then he gets scared, and Bubble Bass runs out of the building, shaking the ground. And SpongeBob's a hero.
Yeah, they give 3 cheers for SpongeBob, and then Squidward tries to jump in on it, and he does not get any cheers because he was
also because Squidward was the substitute cook, and he sucked because he burned everything.
Yeah, famously burning someone's shake. Yeah, and one of the big themes from this episode is Mr. Krabs really being a supportive figure, because you got to remember this is only the 3rd episode of Mr. Krabs, and you still don't see any stinginess from this guy. He's still really not a role model for SpongeBob, but just a big fatherly figure, and he's really trying to take care of the guy, and he goes over to SpongeBob's house when he basically is shut in for a couple days, and you see SpongeBob pretty much on a fit of madness, like trying to figure out what the deal was with his order, and when he can't figure it out, Mr. Krabs gets him through it, and eventually he gets a 5 o'clock shadow too, and he really pulls him through it. So that's Pickles.
Yeah. But I don't remember much about this. I kind of do, but not really. I don't know what leads up to it.
Yeah, me neither. Let's see. I think it's the one with the little... No, it's not. I was thinking it was the one where they're raising that chick in Mrs. Puff's class, but that was not it.
Oh, no. It's the wee woo.
Yeah. So basically what happens in this episode is SpongeBob is in Mrs. Puff's boating school again. You see a bunch of bored students, and Mrs. Puff has to decide the hall monitor, because really Mrs. Puff's boating school takes on a bit of a role as just a normal school so that the show can be a bit more friendly to children. and she has to decide who's the hall monitor. So she's going down the list, and it keeps turning out that everyone else has already done it too many times, and each time she reads off one of the names and somebody disputes it, and SpongeBob keeps scooting closer to her desk. And it gets really intense as she gets closer and closer, and then eventually he just knocks into her desk, and she's like, SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And then SpongeBob gets the job, and he kind of takes it too far. He just wears it out of the school. He starts going around Bikini Bottom doing vigilante justice.
Yeah,
except it's really stupid stuff. Like you see a really cool shot of him having thrown like thousands of fish in jail, and it gets really stupid. But eventually, does he get scared, or is it Patrick that gets scared? Or?
He gets because there's like the radio reported a criminal had escaped, and they got worried because it was like they actually have to do something now. And then the police like pulled up on Patrick and like, have you seen this man? Oh wait, no.
No, they're talking about They were saying SpongeBob was the wanted man.
Yeah, because he was breaking into houses. He literally like broke into someone's house while someone was bathing and was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, he did like his karate moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It was really funny because Patrick's an idiot and he didn't recognize SpongeBob in the uniform.
Yeah. So stupid.
Yeah. I think.
Okay. That's about it, honestly.
Yeah. Tried to arrest Patrick for littering with an ice cream cone. Yeah. This episode wasn't too memorable.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. Except when he said every time he says hall monitor, he grows like a cleft, like that a supermodel would have, and his voice drops.
Yeah, it's like a hall monitor, or something like that. Yeah, so that's hall monitor. Then we have the Jellyfish Jam, which is really the second musically driven episode. Yeah.
Well, don't remember much, but I think SpongeBob brings a jellyfish back to his house as a friend, and then that jellyfish like brings all of his friends, which is like hundreds of thousands of jellyfish.
Yeah. So basically what happens is they start in jellyfish fields again, just as they had before, and SpongeBob is catching jellyfish, and he usually lets them all go, but this jellyfish comes back to him, and he can't really get rid of it, so he just takes it home to his house to have as a pet. He already has Gary, but it's one more. And there's this whole running gag with the jellyfish liking pop music for some reason, and like them dancing along for like 5 minutes in total, it seems like. And I think Gary gets into it at one point, and then Squidward gets really annoyed because the music's way too loud, and the jellyfish just doesn't want to stop the party. And he brings some of his jellyfish friends there, and it turns into like a whole conga line. SpongeBob gets kicked out of his house apparently, and like by the end, and how does this episode end?
I don't.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like they have SpongeBob playing the music on his nose, and like he's walking out of his house. The jellyfish follow him, and eventually he leads him back to Jellyfish Fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode's kind of silly, but
it's weird. But it was a very popular song.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, you'll see like YouTube clips of the song have like 1 million views or 200,000 views.
Oh wow!
I have a clip right here.
Yeah, well, let's avoid playing that just for copyright reasons. I don't really want that on my butt, but if you guys want to see it, just look up Jellyfish Jam music.
Yeah, that's basically all you have to do.
Sure, it wouldn't be hard at all to find it. 2 million people saw it after all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you remember this next episode a little better, Sandy's Rocket.
Yes, I remember this episode. Also very weird. You want me to explain it?
Yeah. Sorry.
Basically, SpongeBob and Patrick stumble upon Sandy's rocket, which I guess we're not really answered. Like, is that how she got here, or is she planning to leave? We don't really know. But so they press buttons in the rocket, and it like makes a bunch of noise, but they think it's taken off, but it doesn't. I believe it does not, or it goes straight up and straight down.
Yeah, that's basically what happens.
And we see Patrick's dumb, but we also see SpongeBob being really stupid and thinking it's the moon that looks just like Bikini Bottom. And so basically they go around with these net guns and they just stuff. They catch every citizen in Bikini Bottom, stuff them in the net, and throw them in the rocket.
Yeah, and then it just
which is so not okay. It was just weird, and everyone was so mad at them. And I think Sandy got captured too.
Yeah, eventually. And it just ends with SpongeBob and Patrick turning on each other because for some reason they can't even trust each other at this point.
Are you an alien? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they call them moon men.
Almost like a twist on The Thing, if you've seen that movie, '80s movie.
Yeah, it is kind of a Twilight Zone thing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it wasn't that special, but it was pretty interesting. You get more
Yeah,
sanity action. You get to see SpongeBob and
that's
Patrick
about it.
screwing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sandy's Rocket. Oh,
Yep.
oh, I hate this episode.
Oh, this is basically like the psychological deterioration of Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, squeaky boots.
All this episode is SpongeBob gets boots from Mr. Krabs that are like tall black sailor boots that
Yeah.
I think like from his Navy stint or something, because Mr. Krabs was in the Navy. For those who didn't know.
Yeah.
And they're super squeaky, and SpongeBob just squeaks them. Mr. Krabs gets mad at him because he hates the sound, and he actually physically eats them.
As does most of the audience.
But then he hears the boots in his head, like auditory hallucination, and he basically just like loses his mind.
Yeah, and then he just boils them in like a vat of oil. And I'm trying to remember how this episode ends. He just keep? Oh yeah, he like eats them for some reason.
I feel like he ate them, and then he heard sounds after, though.
Yeah, because I think he was just like burping the entire way with his daughter.
Oh, that's right. He burped the squeeze.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. Okay, that was stupid. Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's right. It was originally a gift for Pearl.
Oh, and she ate them.
Yeah, obviously.
Pearl is her daughter, a blonde whale, because I don't know how that works.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Hashtag adopted.
Yeah. Mr. Krabs is so noble.
Yeah. I don't remember Nature Pants at all, which is the next episode.
No, neither do I. Let's see what we got here. Here, I guess this would be a good one to just read straight off of the Wikipedia. Okay, let's see. So, at work, SpongeBob daydreams of living with the jellyfish. He eventually starts a fire, and a fireman runs in and turns on the hose. SpongeBob is in the way, thus fills up with water and falls on the fire, putting it out. Still don't remember this one. After Mr. Krabs scrapes SpongeBob off the grill, he asks SpongeBob why he's not concentrating, and SpongeBob explains that he wishes to live in the wild. Mr. Krabs thinks he is joking until SpongeBob walks out. SpongeBob then gives Patrick mayonnaise, old phone books, and a special fishing net, all reliable. He even takes off all his clothes.
Oh my.
Yeah, I still don't remember this one. This is a weird one. SpongeBob tries to fit in with the jellyfish, but is continually shocked, literally, by them. Patrick is furious at SpongeBob's decision and tries to catch him while jellyfishing, and nothing seems to persuade SpongeBob to come home until he is bitten by poisonous sea urchins. I still don't remember that. Jeez.
I kind of do, but not really.
Yeah, he decides to come back home, and everyone welcomes him back. Then he puts on his clothes again, and everyone hugs him. Squidward is forced to, and the bacteria causing the itchiness spreads, and everyone becomes itchy except for SpongeBob. I don't remember this one at all.
Interesting. There's even like an error. That's funny. They have errors of what was wrong in the show. That's funny for that episode.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a reason that one has N/A for the amount of people that watched it. I don't remember that one.
Weird.
Oh, this next one is much better though. Opposite.
Oh wait. Fun fact about that episode. First episode, he ate a Krabby Patty.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he doesn't eat them too often. He knows better.
Yeah. Yeah, we might get to that. It's already 3:30.
Yeah, we're referencing a really funny scene from SpongeBob. From like one episode where Patrick does this gag where like I remember the graveyard shift, which is actually one of my favorite episodes where Squidward is remarking when they're working from like midnight to like 6 in the morning or something, that nobody would eat a Krabby Patty at 3 a.m. and then they cut to Patrick with an alarm clock and he just hits it at 3 a.m. He's like, "Ooh, 3 a.m." and then like he
says, "Oh boy, 3 a.m." and eats a Krabby Patty.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, opposite day. Yeah, how would you summarize that?
I actually don't remember much of it.
I got you then. So
wait, hold on. I'm just looking at the.
Yeah, sure.
I know. Yeah. Oh.
That's a weird picture.
Yeah. I remember it now. Basically, Squidward believes Squidward's annoyed by both of his neighbors, SpongeBob and Patrick. He wants to sell his house, and so but the real estate lady's like super strict and serious, and so like she was like, I'm coming back later, but you better be like prove that the neighbors are like annoying and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they get into a bit of determining the market value of housing.
Yeah. And the lady arrives eventually. Well, no, I'll get back to that. So basically, SpongeBob and Patrick get fooled by Squidward because he's like, it's opposite day. You have to say the opposite things.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and Squidward thinks that's going to make him serious all of a sudden, but it's not what happens.
Yeah, basically, eventually SpongeBob and Patrick decide to be Squidward.
Yeah.
And then, like, the real estate lady's like, he's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward. And she, like, rages and she leaves. And then he's like, no, come back.
Yeah, she's like, is there anyone else who wants to be Squidward? And then Gary pops up with Squidward's nose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a pretty funny episode. It's just one of the many attempts of Squidward trying to escape the neighborhood, and luckily he never does.
Yep.
Okay, opposite day. So it looks like we finally made it to episode 10, Culture Shock.
Oh, culture shock.
Yeah.
Yes. Basically,
oh, this is, yeah, gotcha.
Mr. Krabs getting less customers, so he's like, let's have a talent show while people eat. And so yeah, that happens, and we basically see all the funny comical things that happen during the talent show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
we see Squidward's interpretive dances.
Squidward has interpretive dancing, and it's with weird music, and he makes weird noises with his body.
Yeah.
We see poetry by Gary. I believe was it poetry or was he singing?
No, it's poetry, and Sandy loves it for some reason.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then they have like some basically just ripping off Krusty the Clown.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like,
what was SpongeBob's talent? What did he do?
SpongeBob's just telling dirty jokes the entire time about Sandy.
No, that's squirrel jokes. That's a different.
Oh, it is.
Oh, I remember. He's mopping. Remember?
Oh yeah. Wait, so they went back to this premise? That's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, it's like a separate thing. I remember Squidward gets tomatoes thrown at him, and then SpongeBob mops it up, and they're like, "Hey, this kid's pretty good," and they clap for his mopping because it's talent.
Yeah, and then Squidward sticks his face back out, and they start booing again.
Boo! Yeah, and then he lifts up SpongeBob and like puts him through the curtain, and you see his arm, which is funny, and they cheer for him.
Yeah.
Social experiment.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a good episode.
Yeah, and apparently they went back to the concept, so they must have really liked it.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder when Squirtle Jokes happens. Okay. So now we have what I think is the only SpongeBob episode to have its name be an acronym. Fun.
F-U-N. Well, is this like a normal length episode?
Yeah, normal length.
I feel like it's short. But, well, yeah, pretty good one.
I
guess some people didn't like the song, thought it was annoying.
I mean, it's going to be annoying like 5 years later when everyone's still doing it.
Basically, SpongeBob takes Plankton out for a day to stop being evil and teach him fun. Plankton's trying to get the formula still from SpongeBob somehow.
Yeah.
And they sing a song about F. Like, F is friendship, U is for basically like you and me, so like togetherness, and N is like having like persistent faith in each other anywhere. That's like this grammatically incorrect standing for the N. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always mix this one up with the episode where Plankton's trying to rebuild his friendship with Mr. Krabs, and like they finish on the dock. But no, that's not this episode.
Yeah.
This is just SpongeBob and Plankton. And I don't even think Plankton's trying to get the Krabby Patty formula. I think Mr. Krabs just butts in at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
that's it. That's it. Nothing entertaining. You could almost skip that if you want to, but
yeah,
it is. If a SpongeBob fan will know the song by heart and just like sing it.
Yeah, it's a good plot episode.
Yeah, but there's enough songs in SpongeBob that they make albums for the seasons.
Oh really? Huh.
Yeah, along with like instrumental music too, because people really like there's some good ukulele stuff, and yeah,
Oh, okay.
there's good music in SpongeBob.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. It's not like some bubble guppies thing where you can count on your
Yeah,
song per episode, or like Beat
this
Bugs, which is
this this is
apparently a
TV
show.
this is TVY7
Yeah.
with plenty of older humor than that.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Well, that makes us halfway through season one. So at this point, what's your overall impression of season one?
One of the best seasons. I mean, sometimes the writing could be a little off-putting because it was like almost like season one's always the beta of a show or early development. So, but I think they did a good job. They got the audience into it, which is what made like seasons 1 through 4 so good.
Yeah, I've always thought of like the first three seasons as the pinnacle of the early 2000s television, with
Yeah, so true.
with usually season two being my favorite, season three being my second favorite, and season one being my third, just because you got stupid episodes like Culture Shock or or I Was a Teenage Gary, which is going to be coming up later.
Oh, gosh, that was a weird one.
Yeah, but first we got to get to Muscle Bob Buff Pants.
This was like the first time I see like SpongeBob struggling with his self confidence a little bit.
Yeah, and he
Other
really
than like
lays
ripped
into it.
pants. Basically, he sees bodybuilders on the beach and he buys inflatable arms that he can pump up and look swole. And they work. They look like actual like pink beefy arms, and they can carry him and stuff.
Oh, it looks like he was trying to impress Sandy with him again. So maybe this is
He was also impressing Sandy because there's a weightlifting competition and Larry was in it, and he's like the champion.
Oh yeah, like they're throwing anchors.
Yeah, and basically, even if they look like muscles, they're filled with air, so he couldn't twist open a soda cap for someone.
Yeah.
And he definitely tried to pick up an anchor, and basically his muscles overloaded and they burst, and it was like, hey, you were faking, and then everyone was like, oh, we like you for who you are. Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, it had a good message.
Yeah.
Well, it's better.
Sandy
It's better than
Sandy
using
thought it was
steroids.
sweet. Yeah. I don't remember Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost much.
Yeah, I don't remember the lead up to it, but it mostly just involves Squidward pretending that he's dead and he's haunting SpongeBob and Patrick. Let's see what the lead up to that is, though.
Eventually, they don't leave him alone, so he reveals he's actually not dead because he's so annoyed.
Oh, yeah. So basically, what happens is SpongeBob and Patrick are playing frisbee in the yard, and then I think Patrick accidentally throws the frisbee, which is just a little clamshell, into Squidward's house, and they hit some sculpture of Squidward that's apparently so realistic.
Oh, remember he made he made a wax sculpture of himself.
Yeah,
and it melted.
Yeah, and SpongeBob thinks that it's Squidward and that they've killed him, and Squidward.
Or was it like, I feel like Patrick sat on his face because I remember the clay having like two big circular
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I remember now.
Yeah, and Squidward's in the bath at that point, so he's just like, oh, I'm gonna go along with this. Oh wait, no, he's not. He didn't even know what was going on. He comes out and he's like, SpongeBob, Patrick, what's going on? And he looks really pale.
And they got scared. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Squidward never got that tan, and he thinks he's a ghost, and Squidward's like, yes, I can use this to my advantage.
Some people complain that SpongeBob should be smarter than Patrick, and he is a lot at the time, but this is also an example of, like, he wasn't thinking, like, worth a lick. They just thought he was dead.
Yeah, so SpongeBob and Patrick spend the rest of the episode trying to give Squidward a proper burial, and, like, it's really not a proper burial, it's just them waiting on him for, like, 3 days, and then eventually they get kind of sick of it, and Squidward gives up.
That reminds me, like, seasons 1 through 3, probably, we see SpongeBob actually has, like, a conscience and can actually, like, get angry sometimes. Especially, like, that episode where Squidward was, like, in his house as his maid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, stuff like that. We saw him, like, actually lose it. Yeah, though, his Mr. Krabs dying, yeah.
And that's like... you were saying?
These new seasons, and just, like, the second half of the show so far, he's just, like, so happy all the time. He never really gets angry or sad that often. So he's become, like, one-dimensional almost, which is what some people don't like.
And that's the hallmark of bad writing, that, like, your characters are not complicated. They have one thing that they do, and you try and write them so that they're always in situations where that one thing's going to come up. But in episodes like this, the writers aren't afraid to put SpongeBob in a situation where he's angry at Squidward, where they reverse the roles, or where Patrick is pissed at SpongeBob, or Mr. Krabs is trying to help him.
Yeah, I do think season 12 was better though, because they brought back the original writers, multiple writers. So I think it's gotten better. I haven't watched though. I don't have time for that.
Okay. So that is Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. And now we move on to probably the most high school episode of all of the series, The Chaperone. So obviously if they're doing a high school episode, they have to follow the high school age person here, which is Pearl. And Pearl, I don't know, she kind of seems like a junior at this point, and she has to go to prom, and she's like with her all her catty friends at the Krusty Krab, because that's what you do when you're a kid. You go to your dad's restaurant, and basically they're talking about how Pearl doesn't have a date yet, and Mr. Krabs thinks it's appropriate to make SpongeBob her date, which is really creepy if you think about it, because I get that SpongeBob's like this man child at this point, but he's like a 30-year-old person taking some 16-year-old, because she just started driving to prom.
Remember, Pearl also broke up with her ex.
Oh yeah, that's right. Octavius Rex, apparently.
Long, tall, and handsome is his nickname.
Oh yeah, like they keep running into him.
I mean, you should. If you watch the episode, you'll be flattered to see him. He's a stunner.
Yeah. And then SpongeBob just entertains everyone by having everyone do the sponge,
which is some dance he made up on the fly.
Yeah, and he has like these artificial legs, which it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, makes him taller. Yeah, I remember that. Because he's trying to be like long, tall, and handsome.
Yeah. Oh, I missed this part. So just looking at the summary, then right as they almost embrace and kiss, Mr. Krabs appears, armed with a shovel, and tells SpongeBob not to step on his flower. That's pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought Pearl kissed him on the cheek or the forehead or something.
Yeah, actually that happens.
Yeah, it does. Don't step on me, flower.
Yeah, that's kind of that's playing a bit on the whole your
blossoming flower.
Yeah, I can't think of a way of wording it without it being inappropriate.
The fledgling leaving the nest. I don't know.
Yeah, like just your body is a temple or whatever.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the Chaperone.
Yeah, that was an okay episode. All right.
Yeah, not as good as this next one though. Employee of the Month.
I can't remember this one. Let me just look at the synopsis. I kind of remember this.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Oh, that's right. Wait, does Squidward win Employee of the Month one year?
No, I don't think so. I think he just really goes hard for it, and then Mr. Krabs is like, I can't decide, and then they go really crazy at the end. Yeah,
basically, all it is, they're both annoying Mr. Krabs because they both want Employee of the Month.
Yeah, and like they just start overworking themselves and producing Krabby Patties as fast as they can, which doesn't make any sense because Squidward's supposed to be the cashier, but... Oh, and actually we get a good timestamp for how long SpongeBob has been working there, because he's won 26 consecutive awards. So obviously that's about 2 and a 4 years.
2 years and 2 months.
Yeah. That's actually really interesting for any theory material that anyone wants. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Apparently in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, he had won it 374 times. That's weird. Yeah.
Meaning that he probably won in this episode. That's interesting.
Yeah, he probably just won a bunch at once or something. Do you think that companies should do Employee of the Month and not like Employee of the Day or something?
Wait, what do you mean?
And do you think that companies should do Employee of the Month awards based on month, or do you think they should do it like Employee of the Week?
No, you do month. That's how, They always do one, yeah, because that teaches employees to work hard the whole month, not just one day when they feel like it.
Yeah, good point.
Anyways, yeah, that was an okay episode. That was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see those pictures recurring multiple times throughout the show.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it. Yeah, that's Employee of the Month. So next we have Scaredy Pants, which
I didn't like this one.
Oh, it comes right on October 28th, so that should tell you what this episode is going to be dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give a synopsis?
Well, basically, yeah, SpongeBob goes out for Halloween, and he dresses as a ghost with like a bed sheet, and he has these really weird shoes.
Oh yeah, he has like elf shoes.
He actually
that
has
Patrick
like
makes
shoes.
for him.
Like Tim colored elf shoes. Yeah, so so Mr. Krabs, he finishes work. Mr. Krabs tells him about the Flying Dutchman, which is a recurring character in the series, who is it's just this giant green ghost who like steals people's souls.
Yeah,
just
kind of supposed to be haunting Bikini Bottom or something.
On Halloween, yeah, and it's Halloween. He dresses up as a quote-unquote Flying Dutchman costume, which is the bed sheet and the weird shoes.
Yeah, it just looks like the Charlie Brown costume without the holes.
Yeah, and basically he tries to scare people, but like he scares no one, and like other people's costumes scare him. And basically, like the Flying Dutchman actually appears when people are laughing at him, and he insults SpongeBob's costume, and he removes it. And we see there's a reveal that when Patrick designed his costume, and when he designed his costume, he looks round once the sheet is on. We don't know why. And when he takes the sheet off, his raw brain is exposed.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and literally, like everyone, he looks like a stick with eyes and then a brain, and it's almost creepy because it was like
he looks like he had an autopsy performed on him.
Yeah. So yeah, and everyone ran away scared.
Yeah, even the Flying Dutchman. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's that one. And like the whole thing is happening at Mr. Krabs' place because apparently he wanted a Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's that one. Then we have.
I'm gonna explain this in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I was a teenage Gary. Oh, Gary's sick. He needs a shot. They think he's sick, and he accidentally gets stung by the snail shot that was for Gary, and the doctor's like, "Oh, you'll be fine." But SpongeBob eventually turns into a snail, which is weird. And then he infects Squidward, who turns into a snail.
And then he infects Patrick too?
I believe he does. And then I think Gary gets better because he gets the actual shot. Or it's like he just needed water or something.
Oh, yeah, he just needed water. But
that was for the other one too. Remember? No, it was just water. Because, wasn't it... Oh. No, it's a different episode. Yeah, alright, we'll come back to that. Mm-hmm. The other episode I'm thinking of when SpongeBob and Patrick went to a jellyfishing convention, and Squidward forgets that he has to take care of Gary.
No, isn't he trying to feed him in that one? I don't know.
Well, he was like, I forgot about the snail. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Probably.
But yeah, this was a really bad episode. It was trying to be Twilight Zone, and it didn't work. It was just creepy.
It's based off of, I think, like a movie or a TV show. Like I Was a Teenage Werewolf or something.
Oh, yeah, I could see that in the trivia below, yeah. 1957 Michael Landon film, apparently.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
That's weird.
Alright, you can explain the next one, because this is a weird one.
Let's see what it is.
It's good.
This one, yes. SB129. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this one, actually.
Is this a half-hour special?
That's a good question. Let's see. Oh, Jesus! I just looked at the plot summary. It's literally 2 pages long. So yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to read off of it. Okay, wow.
I think I guess it's a half-hour special.
I would hope so. Either that or it's incredibly fast-paced. No, it can't be, because it's listed as 14A, 14B, so it must have been 11 minutes. That's impossible.
That's not possible.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like Patchy the Pirate was talking about that one.
Well, I don't know if they counted that in the
He was like
runtime.
narrating it. Interesting.
Okay, so what's happening in this episode is I'm trying to remember the lead up right now. I think Squidward is playing a clarinet or something, and SpongeBob. This is the episode. Yes, so Squidward chokes on his clarinet in this one because SpongeBob's giant alarm clock goes off and he really scares him. Then they eventually go to the Krusty Krab, and I think they have to go in like the freezer or something. This isn't the movie one, but like they have to go in the freezer, and SpongeBob gets locked in, or is it Squidward?
No, I think
Squidward gets locked in. Yeah.
We're
And-
still on SP129, right?
Yeah, and then the
I think-
handle just gets locked because it's frozen shut or something, and then Squidward just stays in there forever, and like it plays on the whole idea of cryogenic freezing. So Squidward's in there for 2,000 years, and the year is now 4017, which is interesting because the show doesn't start in 2017, but you know. And the hinges finally break off. Squidward falls out, and he's just looking around, and everything is chrome. And he just pretty much has a mental breakdown for a second. He's just like, future! Yeah.
And you see, there's like a gag. You think everything's just chrome naturally, but there's like a flower that blooms, and it's green and brown. And you see this guy come up, and he shakes a can of like chrome spray paint and sprays the flower.
Yeah. And then Robot SpongeBob comes in, and Squidward just can't believe what he's doing. So, what does he do to go back into the past?
I feel like there's a machine of some kind. They have time machines.
Yeah, there's like some. Oh yeah, that's right. It was a time machine. So Squidward jumps in that, and it takes him way too far back, and then he sees the caveman SpongeBob that unfortunately has been over memed at this point. And then like he's just looking around, and like he sees. I don't think he sees dinosaurs, but just everything looks super primitive. Caveman SpongeBob. I think that's Patrick. And like is this the one where they're like frying food and like trying to eat it?
No, I think
no, that's the other one.
That's the other. See, there's 2 caveman episodes.
Yeah, like there's one where like almost everything's live action, and like there's this whole thing with Patchy and like this giant robot guy.
Oh no, yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
if
that's what I'm
this
thinking
one.
about. It's called Ugg. That's the other episode.
Gotcha.
UGH, yeah.
So that's Ugg. But this one, not too much happens. Squidward just looks out, he sees them, and then he's just like, I want to go back, and then he starts hallucinating or something, and oh yeah, that's right. Like he goes into like this interdimensional place, and he just does like an artistic representation where he's like, oh no, I'm all alone, and then it's like alone.
Oh my god, Dave, that's like one of the first examples of like a semi fourth wall break, and just a different almost it felt like a just different genre other than a cartoon.
Yeah.
It felt so like real. It was cool. I remember that. Alone.
Yeah, and then eventually he just starts jumping up and down, and eventually he just falls through the elevator, and he ends up back in the Krusty Krab somehow.
Yeah.
And then it's just like nothing happened.
Oh.
And then like
that's a good episode, and this next one is not. I thought it was boring.
Yeah, now that I think about it, maybe that should be in my top 5.
It's a good one.
Oh yeah. Ooh, Karate Choppers. Yeah, this one was not good.
The chrome. I swear that guy spray painting the flower chrome was just like so funny as a kid to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
It was almost like, is it utopia or dystopia? It was kind of cool. Okay, Karate Choppers. Basically, Sandy loves karate, SpongeBob loves karate. They fight all the time, and they fight in the Krusty Krab, and they break stuff.
Yeah, like he starts
Mr. Krabs is like,
customers.
if you do karate again, you're fired. And they don't, and then they do, and Mr. Krabs sees him, and he's fired, and then he has a mental breakdown and starts crying and runs away. Mr. Krabs feels bad, and then just rehires him. That's all it is.
Yeah, like there's this dumb thing where SpongeBob goes on a walk with Mr. Krabs in the park, I think, and like Mr. Krabs gets out like a thing of salami, and like SpongeBob wants to cut the salami, and he really wants to use his karate chop hand, and he keeps looking up.
That's right.
Keeps looking up at Mr. Krabs, and Mr. Krabs like, I dare you. And then eventually he just goes ahead and does it anyways, and Mr. Krabs looks around, and like everything's just crazy, and like the entire place is ruined.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's not what happens at all. He was going out to the park with Sandy.
Oh yeah.
And then Mr. Krabs walks in later.
She was like, here's the salami, and SpongeBob's like trying. He was about to chop it, and I think he does. He like slowly chops it.
Yeah. He's like looking
It's
for
like
approval.
he's got this weird desire for karate.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't.
almost like physical. It's weird. Okay, anyways.
And yeah, it just ends with Mr. Krabs realizing he can use it to make money, so he brings SpongeBob back on, and like they turn it into some whole gag where Sandy gets hired too, and like they're all at like the front of
Yeah.
the restaurant, and like it turns into like this whole showcasing where SpongeBob and Sandy are using karate to make the people's meals. I'm hoping they wash
Mm-hmm.
their karate gear before they do that, but like it turns into a whole fun thing. And then the episode cuts.
Mm-hmm. This next one's pretty good. Some people don't like it. I didn't think it was. I thought it was kind of cool.
Oh, sleepy time. I don't remember that at all.
Basically, SpongeBob is dreaming in his sleep that he's in a nice boat and he got his license, but that's not going to happen. He hops out of his dream, so he's like aware that he is sleeping, but he's also in his own like conscience, and he goes into other people's dreams.
Oh yeah, this is the one where Gary's in the library.
Gary's in the library. He has legs and arms, and he can speak English, and he's humanoid, and it's kind of gross.
Yeah,
And he's like, "I'm in my studies." He's very intelligent.
yeah. What happened for Patrick's dream?
Remember, he's all right. All Patrick's dream. It's kind of a play on his empty-mindedness. It's all white, but there's one mechanical seahorse that takes quarters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And a vent next to it
That's
on
right.
the ground. So he rides it until he's out of quarters, and he dropped his last quarter into the vent, and he says, "Shoot, that was my last quarter." And then he just frowns and sits on it.
Yeah, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, and then he hops out. He's like, "Bye, Patrick."
Yeah, and then in Squidward's
Like Sandy skydiving and makes Sandy.
right.
She makes Sandy miss the target. He does. Squidward.
Squidward's is just at the symphony like it always is.
Okay, Squidward's at the symphony. SpongeBob breaks his clarinet on accident, and SpongeBob turns into a clarinet and plays, and they like the sound, and they're all cheering for him. So that was a good thing.
Yeah.
But like Plankton was like huge, but he popped Plankton.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he was huge and stomping on people, and he pokes him with a pin.
Oh, that's right. It was like the creature from the Krusty Krab thing.
And then, like, he woke up, everyone was around him on his bed, like, and everyone was like, "Stay out of our dreams."
Yeah.
And then Patrick said, "Does anyone have a quarter?"
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's a pretty good one. Here's another good one.
Suds. Yeah. So basically, what happens in Suds is a continuation of I Was a Teenage Gary, where SpongeBob gets sick this time, and he comes down with the Suds, which is apparently a disease that only sponges get. Basically, it's just like a normal cold, except for SpongeBob is like leaking weird fluids, and he just turns like
It's like bubbles, you know.
Yeah, like he turns brown, and he just starts. He starts swelling up. But I don't think that had anything to do with the disease. I think that was just Patrick's intervention.
Yeah.
So basically,
yeah. Okay, you're explaining.
All right, cool. So SpongeBob has to miss work for the disease. He doesn't want to initially. Like he pretends he's fine, but then he just starts sneezing all over everything. And obviously, that's not up to the OSHA safety concerns. So that he gets paid leave. He heads back to his house, and Patrick comes in to cheer him up and make him feel better. And he morphs into a Dr. Patrick. But this is not, unfortunately, one of Patrick's smart moments. He instead starts one of his more controversial techniques, where when SpongeBob sneezes, a bunch of stuff is just coming out of his pores because he's a sponge. So Patrick just starts putting a bunch of I don't know if you would call them nose plugs, but just like a bunch of corks. Yes, corks. So he just puts a bunch of corks in SpongeBob.
And he turns into a wrecking ball, basically.
Yeah, because he just starts swelling up over and over, and then eventually it just gets out of hand, and he starts rolling down the street, and he eventually crashes into the Krusty Krab. Then it ends with him actually going to a real doctor who can actually give him some help, and basically the doctor's technique is to use him as a sponge and have Hans come in.
Oh, Hans!
Yeah, and Hans is just like some live action.
It's a green screen hand, and it's hilarious. It's funny, and we see that hand like more than once in the show.
Yeah, essentially what's happening is he's being used to like clean a bathroom, and then he's being used to for like some guy in a shower.
And yeah, you just see live action footage of this dude with a yellow sponge scrubbing
I wonder if that was Tom
household
Kenny.
objects.
You think that was Tom Kenny?
It could be. It could be anyone.
Oh, it
Probably
is Tom.
was.
It is Tom Kenny. The man taking a shower during the live-action sponge treatment scenes is Tom Kenny.
Oh my gosh, that's freaking funny.
Yeah. And then after the SpongeBob feels all better, he gets a really big lollipop, and then Patrick is like, "No, I want one too." And then he's like, "Oh, we got something for you, Dr.
Yeah,
Patrick."
he faked the suds. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the lollipop, and he was like scrubbed on a cactus.
Yeah. And then he has to clean the toilet.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And it's really funny because like they use actual real life sponges and like a real life starfish, and like not just SpongeBob and animated. So that's really interesting. And yeah, it's pretty funny.
All right. I'll explain this next one because it's not that good. I've actually only seen it once, and I saw it like 2 years ago because I was like, "What is this?"
Well, this one's decent.
It's hard to see. Well, I've never seen it. I've hardly seen it. By the way, if you want to watch old SpongeBob episodes, to you all out there, if you have like Nicktoons, the channel, uh, it's on usually on weekdays, like one to four. They play old seasons of SpongeBob.
Yeah, and not that we
I've noticed
endorse
that.
this, but there's also fantastic websites online where you may
Yes,
or
where
may
you
not
can
be able
just
to
watch
find them
them.
all.
Yes, very good. Valentine's Day. I don't know. I thought it was stereotypical. Just like they both go to the carnival. SpongeBob's hiding a gift from Patrick, and it goes downhill. And he's like, "I had a gift for you." And then Patrick's like, "Oh, I don't need a gift. You're my best bud." Yeah, that's basically it.
That's a pretty short synopsis. Here, I'll elaborate a little bit because I think I'm more fond of this episode than you. So, in like this
Okay.
episode, the real point behind this episode is it's playing on SpongeBob and Patrick's friendship, and essentially it's like, "Oh, Patrick, you're my Valentine for this day," and it starts with. Does it start with SpongeBob giving Patrick a bunch of Valentine's Day cards? I think. No, he's like throwing them around to everyone else and like just running down the street and doing that because it's always got to start with SpongeBob somehow running down the street. And basically, what happens after that is he's going to take Patrick to the is it Glove World? Yeah, it's called Glove World at this point. So he's going to Glove World, and they're going there. It's all everything's Valentine's Day themed, and the initial plan for SpongeBob is he has Sandy co-conspiring with him to bring a giant not Valentine, just a giant heart-shaped balloon to the place, and like the balloon's made out of chocolate sauce for some reason, but that's just what they went for. And Sandy's bringing the balloon. She's piloting it over to the Glove World, and SpongeBob just has to stall long enough. He's supposed to bring Patrick to the top of the Ferris wheel, I think. Yeah, top of the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And then they're supposed to get a look at the balloon, but then all of a sudden a bunch of clams come out of nowhere and it starts eating away at the balloon, and Sandy's obviously held up, and they get to the top, and Patrick either thinks SpongeBob is lying about the surprise, or he just gets nothing, and he's really disappointed. And then he just goes on a rampage, and it's like, nobody loves me! And then like he just ruins everything. He's like like he starts harassing everyone around there. He like knocks over carts. He goes and gets the Heart Man, and he's like, "I defy you, Cart Man!"
Yeah,
And
he
like,
gets angry.
yeah, he just destroys it. And oh, and there's apparently a really funny line where he sees a ride in the carnival that consists of a heart on a stick with small carriages rotating around it, and angrily says, "Heart on a stick must die!" And obviously he doesn't break it because he's not that strong.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually Sandy gets the thing down to him, and Patrick is refusing to turn around because he's so mad at SpongeBob. And then, like, eventually everyone in Glove World just comes up and is like, "Turn around!"
go. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he finally does, and yeah.
That's cool. I just read something. I was saying it was hard to find on TV, and it's considered a Valentine's Day episode, so they hardly show it during the rest of the year.
Oh, gotcha.
That's probably when I saw it, like 2 Februarys ago.
Okay. So yeah, that's Valentine's Day. And then the next one is The Paper. And you're going to have to remind me what The Paper is.
I don't remember anything about this.
Oh, we're both going to have to remind each other. Let's see. Oh, I remember now. Okay, so SpongeBob is... Okay, so SpongeBob gets... No, Squidward. It starts with Squidward. He gets like this... he has like some bubble gum or something, and like he just... Obviously takes the gumball out, and then he just throws the piece of paper on the ground, and SpongeBob thinks he's littering, so he tries to give it back to Squidward, and Squidward's like, "No, you can have it."
I don't think I've seen this.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, well,
Honestly.
the first one we found. Okay. Well,
I kind of.
I don't know. But SpongeBob tries to give it back to Squidward. Squidward refuses, and he's like, "Are you sure, Squidward? There's a lot of fun you can have with a piece of paper." And he's like, "No, SpongeBob, I'm sure. Take it. Yes, take it, please. I promise you, no matter how much I beg, and plead, and cry, don't give that paper back to me. Ever." And yeah, SpongeBob agrees to that promise, and he just starts messing around with it. He starts by pretending it's a harmonica or something, and like it makes actual music. Then like he does origami. He gets like a pirate patch. A pirate patch, just called an eye patch. That's kind of weird.
Hey,
He has like a cape, and then he gets like a paper airplane. He's throwing it at Squidward, and like they just keep going through it. And
I don't really remember this actually.
yeah, it's a really obscure episode. And then Squidward, oh, this is funny. So Squidward is trying to distract himself from SpongeBob's fun, so he eventually he goes upstairs to paint, and like he starts painting, and he does like an amazing painting, but it's a picture of him. The picture he painted is one of him playing with the paper. So then he kicks through the painting, and then he tries to get SpongeBob to give him back the paper, and SpongeBob refuses because he promised, and then Squidward just starts piling up all of his possessions in an attempt to get back the paper, and like then he brings out his giant TV, and eventually SpongeBob's like, "No, I'm still not giving it to you," and then Squidward is willing to give him his shirt, and SpongeBob's like, "Oh yeah, deal," because apparently SpongeBob wants his shirt. And then SpongeBob puts it on, Squidward gets the paper, and he's just sitting in front of his house with nothing, because he still wanted to give SpongeBob his stuff, even though SpongeBob just wanted the shirt. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire plot. So it's a weird one. Oh, and it finishes with Squidward saying, "Anybody have some sunscreen?"
I want to say something about I was wrong about Naughty Nautical Neighbors. That's actually a good episode 4A.
Oh,
Really? I wasn't even. It was the competition of like who can be the better friend to Squidward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And yeah, I made a mistake. That's a very good episode. It's funny.
Okay, cool.
We see SpongeBob get angry. All right, where were we?
Well, here, no. Okay, I changed my mind. I was going to say let's stop here and go and rank each of these episodes, but we'll do that at the end of season 1. We're almost there.
Yeah, we only have
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
8. That's not bad. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Arg.
All right. So, what do you remember about this episode?
I remember. Do you not remember much?
Oh, okay.
Well, no. I'm just asking. I got it. All right. Basically, we see it's like after hours at the Krusty Krab, and I believe it's SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mr. Krabs playing this board game he has. That's basically a treasure hunt. And like Patrick dies or something in the game, and SpongeBob doesn't get to the treasure. And Mr. Krabs gets it, and he digs with his tiny shovel and unearths the tiny gold.
Yeah.
And one of them says it's based on a real board game, and it's probably SpongeBob, I think. And Mr. Krabs is greedy because he wants that gold, and he's like, "Let's go on a real treasure hunt."
Yeah.
So they suit up, and I think they take like I feel like now they trek with the map, like paces west and east, and Patrick gets confused and he thinks west is a direction.
Yeah. Which is obviously just a portmanteau of west and east
instead of west, so they go the wrong way. They eventually find the treasure, and then they kind of fight for it. Mr. Krabs kind of turns into like a psycho serial killer.
Yeah, because he wants the booty.
All for himself. And yeah, Mr. Krabs says all for one, and SpongeBob and Patrick say one for all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of the big themes from this episode is Mr. Krabs really takes on the role of Squidward in this one, because for some reason it wasn't Squidward. I mean, I guess it was just because they wanted to have somebody that was really crazy about money.
Yes, Squidward didn't care. He wanted to go home. I believe the Flying Dutchman came in too.
Oh, okay. And yeah, it's pretty much just Squidward takes on.
Oh, that's right. That's funny. Okay. the Flying Dutchman is like congratulates them for finding the treasure.
Yeah.
He gives Patrick and SpongeBob each one the balloon, and he gives Mr. Krabs a tiny plastic treasure chest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty good episode.
You're right. It says this is the first episode to have Mr. Krabs as the main antagonist.
Oh, I didn't even read that. No. Okay. So, yeah, that's ARG. It's pretty, I think it's a pretty memorable episode. Okay, but not as memorable as this next one, Rock Bottom.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this is just a different mood for an episode. It's not very happy.
Yeah, so I in previous episodes I frequently I accidentally hit Texas. That is not the same mood that I'm going for. Okay, yeah, Rock Bottom. So I frequently mentioned how something that the writers were going for in their more horror themed episodes is they really try and get a Twilight Zone feel and like have this mysterious,
this was
this mysterious thing that's going on that like nobody can understand. But they really hit it home in this episode. So the plot behind this is SpongeBob and Patrick are on the bus heading home from Glove World, and I'm trying to remember how Patrick gets separated from him, but basically what's happening is they're heading home, and then like they go off of like a giant cliff, and yeah, it gets bad. Like they head to Rock Bottom, which is just like this creepy town that is basically in a trench in the sea. And SpongeBob gets stranded there when Patrick gets on the bus back home, and like SpongeBob's chasing after the bus, but he can't catch up.
Yeah, and the road, the bus goes straight up a 90-degree road. It's just like a straight ledge up. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's nuts. And yeah, SpongeBob's just all alone.
I just thought, how did they animate that?
What specifically?
I didn't see the bus because they didn't bend the bus. That's interesting. I don't remember. I'll have to look at that like frame by frame and see how that worked.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Interesting.
But yeah,
because the bus. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, Patrick's sad because he goes back.
Yeah, he's just in the middle of Rock Bottom, and then eventually these creepy residents of Rock Bottom start coming out. There's like this guy that like just blowing raspberries at him, which is kind of stupid.
They have this weird language. They say they make a noise after every word they say. They say.
Yeah.
They do that after every word they say.
Yeah, and then eventually this anglerfish comes.
Understand your accent.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the joke. Because SpongeBob tries to talk like them, and they're confused.
Yeah, eventually it just comes off as a little insensitive, and then SpongeBob he has like one of the weird creatures come up and tie a balloon on his wrist, which is supposed to help him get back. And
there's also this conflict of like him and the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like the bus is kind of the antagonist here, where
he literally misses like every bus by a hair because we see him like try to do something and we see the bus like pull in and then he looks at the bus and it goes away, and then it like repeats like he's reaching for a candy bar.
Yeah, and like there's a whole joke where as you were saying, like he's just reaching and like slowly inching away, and the bus like creeps back over, and then like he makes like a sudden movement and it jumps back. And
he sprints to it and it just drives away, and he's like he's so mad.
Yeah, poor SpongeBob.
Yeah, but he gets back home with the balloon, and I think Patrick like goes back down.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was weird.
With the bus, yeah.
Yeah, so that's Rock Bottom for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of a weird one. This is a different one too.
Yeah. Next we have Texas, which is an interesting one also.
Sandy, the antagonist.
Yeah, kind of. All right, so how would you summarize Texas?
Oh, well, wasn't it? Yeah, Sandy's like homesick, and yeah, all right. So Sandy's like homesick, and so they're like, and she can't go home. SpongeBob and Patrick are like, they try to bring her things to remind her of Texas, like a cowboy hat or something, stuff like that. But, yeah. And then Patrick, or was it SpongeBob? SpongeBob or Patrick? Yeah, no, it was Patrick. He said, "What's so great about dumb old Texas anyway?"
Yeah.
And then Sandy's like, kind of exclaiming Texas as her god, saying, "Don't you dare take the name of Texas in vain." She gets like so
super defensive,
mad.
yeah.
She gets really mad. Then SpongeBob and Patrick both start like insulting Texas, and she's thrown into a fit of rage and like chases them.
Yeah, and like the whole thing is they're trying to chase her back to the Krusty Krab where they have this big going away party for her because she's supposed to be going back to Texas.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they chase her. Patrick gets lassoed by Sandy and explodes.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, like he's chased the whole way. And then like SpongeBob barely makes it back, and like he's
like half lassoed by the time he gets there. Yeah.
And yeah, she eventually makes it back in. She's overjoyed by everyone's outpouring of support. Even Squidward's there, and he looks pretty happy. And then yeah, like she stays, and we get to have Sandy for the rest of the episodes. So that's Texas.
Wait a minute. Oh, that's interesting.
Are we missing something?
Flats the Flounder was in this episode.
He was?
But he didn't do anything. He was holding a box in the party. Yes.
Oh, okay, so they really invited everybody.
Wow.
Oh wait, Flats?
Well, this is before the Flats episode.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking you were saying Bubble Bass, but no Flats. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait until we get to Flats. He's fun.
Patrick managed to get back to the party even though he exploded in a nuclear fashion.
Yeah.
These next ones aren't great. A couple are good.
Oh crap, my monitor just went out. Okay, there we go, my monitor's back. That happens sometimes. I have a really crappy HDMI connector to my monitor, so it occasionally just loosens and then everything just goes black. Yeah, okay, so Walking Small. Is this the episode with Mr. Krabs and Plankton messing around?
No, this is Plankton. Like Plankton is using SpongeBob again. So Plankton is like wants to tell people to move so he can build the Mega Bucket on Goo Lagoon, which is like a beach. Okay. And he's like, no one's listening to me. They like you, SpongeBob. And so he's like trying to teach SpongeBob to be assertive, but also,
that's
like,
right. Yeah.
He's slowly trying to make him get people off the beach. Yeah. And so SpongeBob's not assertive, and we see that because, like, how did it go? I forgot how the joke went. Basically, like, SpongeBob or Plankton wanted to have SpongeBob give someone ice cream and then like swat it out of his hand or something like that.
Okay.
And SpongeBob was like, "Here's your ice cream," and then Plankton was like, "Good, now let him have it."
Oh yeah.
He said, "You can have it." And Plankton was like,
yeah, and just everything's getting misconstrued.
Suffering. Yeah. So, let's see. So SpongeBob actually eventually does like get rude, steals hot dogs, pops volleyballs.
Oh yeah, that's right. He really goes crazy by the end.
Yep, and then eventually,
yeah, he just starts reversing everything.
He just reverses everything angrily at Plankton. Plankton just gives up. So that's it.
Yeah, he just starts throwing up the hot dogs and giving everyone their kites back.
Dinner. I want a hot dog right now.
You can keep your nitrates to yourself, son.
Okay, what's the next one? All right, this is like a semi-sad episode. I felt really, really like sad. This was a weird. This dealt with like.
Oh yeah.
This dealt with emotion.
Yeah, this one was kind of dark.
You're self-conscious. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what is happening in this one. Oh, is this the Laugh Box one? No, this isn't the Laugh Box. Is this the pranks?
Yeah, this is when Squidward like pranks SpongeBob so hard.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a summary for this because I don't remember it.
It's April Fool's Day, so SpongeBob gets up. He's happy. It's April Fool's Day. He pranks Gary, which is so mean. He like pranks him with like crushed clamshells as his breakfast, and it's sad because Gary's a mollusk, so it's like it's like family almost, and he starts crying.
It's pretty funny.
Squidward and SpongeBob are at work later. SpongeBob keeps pranking people. This is when This is when SpongeBob doesn't put SpongeBob's laughing at this dude because he gave him a drink and he asked for ice, but he didn't put ice in it.
Oh, that's
and
right.
this guy grabs him by the collar and he says, "What did you do to my drink?" And he says, "April Fools, I didn't put ice in it." And I was like, "Oh," and he started laughing.
Yeah.
Squidward's tired of all the stuff.
Oh, yeah, and then he just starts assaulting SpongeBob.
Yeah, and he also pranks Squidward by saying someone wants to buy his art, and he's in the office, and there's one in the office.
That's rough.
Oh, it was a prank.
It's just a prank, bro.
Yeah, Squidward resigned. Oh my gosh, and then he got his job back after being persuaded. So SpongeBob, he's doing pranks, and he's laughing, and it's annoying. Squidward does this awesome prank that's really brutal. So, SpongeBob cleans up a little piece of mustard on the ground, but the mustard is surrounded by a lasso that gets his foot. Squidward chops a rope, it sends SpongeBob flying around, getting hurt, and he lands in a sack of flour, and he's hurt, and he's crying, and Squidward's laughing like so hard, and they do a lot of animation for his laughter. And so the customers are like, "What the heck? You took it too far." And oh yeah, and a fish yelling psychotic. A guy says, "April Fool's, jerk."
Oh yeah.
Squidward apologizes to SpongeBob, who's crying.
That's a frequent theme in the show, actually, where Squidward tries to get in on the fun and he just takes it way too far.
Literally, he gets I think he apologizes about what happened, basically. Yeah. So yeah, kind of like that. That's basically it. And I think SpongeBob, I think SpongeBob, his crying was like a prank too. He said April Fools. I was faking everything, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. It shows Squidward's heart though. But okay, this one I don't remember at all.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch Fools in April because that's actually a really good episode. Okay, Neptune's spatula. I just need to see the lead up for this one. I remember all the plot, but I just don't remember how it starts.
I don't remember much of it.
Okay, let's see.
This is the first instance of Neptune.
That's okay. I remember this now. So basically, what happens is this is playing on. This is the first episode where the fact that SpongeBob's a fry cook, aside from the one with Bubble Bass, and that SpongeBob actually takes a lot of pride in it. So SpongeBob and Patrick, in their free time, are going to the Fry Cook Museum, and they eventually get there. And at the museum, they see something that's basically a ripoff of King Arthur's sword, where they have to pull out the giant golden spatula. Whoever does that is worthy of King Neptune himself. So SpongeBob takes a picture with it, and the old lady asks, "Do you know where the menu section is?" And SpongeBob does that muscle thing where he's like, "Oh, it's over there," and then he rips the spatula out, and then the entire ceiling opens up, and King Neptune comes down. And he's like, "Who pulled out the spatula from the rock that it was stuck in?" And SpongeBob was like, "Oh, it was me." And he's like, "No, it wasn't. Was it you, Mr. Strong Guy?" And then he just goes around to 5 people, and everyone's like, "Oh, it was SpongeBob." Oh, and Larry the Lobster was there too, and he says it also. And eventually the Neptune's like, okay, it must have been SpongeBob, so he wants to test him by bringing him to his kingdom, and not his kingdom, his castle, or whatever it's called, and he does this test where he's, I don't know if he's facing Neptune in a fry cook competition, but he's facing somebody, and he has to make a bunch of Krabby Patties faster than King Neptune can, and oh, that's right. King Neptune makes 1,000 of them, and SpongeBob only makes one. And then King Neptune, when he's basking in his glory, he's like, "Here, everybody in the stands, eat my Krabby Patties." And he gives them to everybody, and everyone's like, "Oh, these are horrible." And,
yeah.
And then SpongeBob gives it the only one to King Neptune. King Neptune tries it, and he's like, "Oh, this is amazing. I think I'll try it a second time."
Quantity.
Yeah, and then he just throws it up and eats it a second time, and the entire crowd's like, "Oh."
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so gross. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's basically it. And he's like, "Oh."
And then Neptune offers him a job, and SpongeBob refuses, and it ends where it started again.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is Hooky.
I remember. No.
Oh, it's not? No, it's Hooky.
No, it's Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2.
No, it's the one after Hooky.
Wait. Oh, not on this site.
Oh, here, let me see what site you're talking about.
Oh wait, no, I was wrong. It's Hooky first.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. Alright, so basically, there's a quote-unquote carnival, but Mr. Krabs warns everyone it's not a carnival, it's the hooks. The hooks. Boyo. So, but, Patrick thinks it's a carnival, but you see, you go to the carnival, quote-unquote, and it's you see a bunch of fish hooks just dangling out in the open ocean. And we see Patrick, like, jumps on and starts riding, like, the lures. And I think he gets pulled up by the fisherman, and he just floats back down.
Yeah.
And Mr. Krabs is like, you gotta stop playing with him. But SpongeBob doesn't, and he accidentally gets hooked because he's, like, toying around with one, thinking it's not that bad. And he's hooked, and then he goes to Mr. Krabs, and he's like, I'm hooked. And Mr. Krabs was like, oh, you get unhooked because it's only on your clothes. And he was like, I don't want to get unhooked because he's at the Krusty Krab and Pearl and all of her high school friends are there.
That's right.
So he unhooks himself, and he's embarrassed because he made a mistake, and he's naked in front of all these girls.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Isn't there like this running joke where like there's cheese on the fish or something?
The cheese.
Yeah, I think they're using cheese as bait on the hooks.
Oh yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and eventually they hook Patrick, and he goes up to the top, and he's like, "Where'd everybody go?"
Also, hooky is slang for skipping work, which SpongeBob did to go to the carnival. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's hooky, and I guess I'll take the last one, which is
that's a good one. Also, Patrick was hooked at the end, and we see him in a tuna can, like a live action tuna can.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And does someone have a can opener?
Yeah.
He seems to end episodes a lot asking questions.
Yeah. Okay.
I've noticed. Okay. Last episode of season 1.
Yep, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2. I'll take this one. So This is the second episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy in this season. I didn't remember there being 2 of them here, but they barely squeezed it in. So in this one, it starts the same way as the first one did, with SpongeBob and Patrick watching the TV show in their house and all dressed up in costumes. And essentially what's happening is I don't really remember what happens in the TV show, it doesn't really matter, but they somehow, oh, that's right, like there was a whole contest that had to do with cereal or something, and like there was a real-life conch shell in one of them, and apparently it could call Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy to their house. But the problem is when SpongeBob and Patrick eventually win it, they completely overuse it because they just want to see Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. So they keep doing that. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy keep getting called to SpongeBob's house, and eventually they get sick of it, and they eventually stop coming, and then something bad actually happens, and the dirty bubble comes up somehow. How does that happen? Let's see. Oh, that's right. They're at like some random restaurant, and they run into SpongeBob again. And I don't really know why they were there together, but basically what happens is they're running away from SpongeBob, and then the dirty bubble comes up out of nowhere, and he captures them. And SpongeBob has to save them, so he gets not a giant pencil, he just gets some random pencil. And in terms of the entire Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy series, is pretty unremarkable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, so it's the last episode of season 1, which they used cell animation. That's CEL, which is basically just animating on a clear sheet with pencil and paper and color. And 2 and 3 were digital ink and paint, and then season 4 was like all computer animated from then on.
Yeah.
So this was the last like the artsy, like old-fashioned way of doing SpongeBob. And some people prefer this animation or the digital animation compared to what it is now.
I don't know. I'm kind of fine with the season 2 and 3 animation, but it gets a little ridiculous past like season 9, I think.
Yeah.
Then they start just doing a completely different art style. Okay, so that's season 1. So I originally thought we were going to rank all of the episodes, but that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that some other time. But I do want from you your free episodes that you thought were really good, and free
Top
episode.
three.
No, just free episodes in general. I'm not going to make you pick between the free, and then free episodes that you thought were really bad.
Wait, but for this season?
Yeah, for
Or
this season.
yeah, for this season, top three of this season, and worst three of this season.
Yeah.
Dang, that's hard. I was not. Well, I don't. If I don't remember Nature Pants, I'm assuming it was bad. So I'll say, I'll include that one. I'll include the first Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and I'll include Neptune's Spatula. Those are the bottom three, definitely.
Okay.
All the other ones I can relate to, like I know that they happened. Top three, probably in no order, honestly, but let's start from the top. I will put in. We'll have to put in Pizza Delivery.
Okay.
And man. No.
Pickles?
This is rough. I don't know about Rock Bottom.
Okay.
Huggy's not that good. I was thinking SB129 is so different that it's good.
That one's
and also,
tough.
like, Naughty Nautical Neighbors is really good. Rip Pants is just nostalgia. It's not like a favorite, but it's just nostalgia from because I watched it.
Yeah.
A lot. Oh man. This is rough.
Arg is pretty good too.
Suds isn't that good. Arg is pretty good, but not that good. Not good enough.
Here, I guess I'll save you from the abyss here. So
I'm gonna have to go with I'll just go with the Naughty Nautical Neighbors. Oh no, I'll go with Jellyfishing.
Alright, cool.
So yeah.
Okay.
Top three aren't in any order though.
Yeah, because that is too difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, mine are going to be in specific order actually. So my bottom three are going to be third worst, Squeaky Boots. I hate that one because it's just a really annoying noise the entire time. And I assume it's the same reaction that most parents have to the show that just dislike SpongeBob's laugh. Then I have Culture Shock, just because I've frankly already forgotten the plot of that.
Shock.
I've already forgotten the plot. Oh, that's Culture Shock? No, that wasn't the one I meant.
The talent show is Culture Shock.
That's not what I meant. No, crap, I gotta find one quick. Let's see. Let's see. Well, my very bottom one is I Was a Teenage Gary.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, that's right, Nature Pants. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nature Pants is stupid. Okay. So I have those three as my bottom three, and then my top three, number three, I have Jellyfishing. That's just an awesome episode. It has a lot of fun jokes, and it just always keeps you on your toes, keeps Squidward on his toes as well. And I have as number two Pickles, because not only does that one have a ton of great gags, but it also has a lot of plot development for the characters. You get to see Mr. Krabs is a really parental figure.
What are the gags in that?
What are the gags?
Other than like the tongue one.
Yeah, you got Bubble Bass.
And there's my car key.
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of it. I guess it's more almost purely on plot development then.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not bad.
Yeah, and then I have Pizza Delivery as number one, obviously.
Yeah,
it's not much argument there.
That's probably my favorite from season one.
Yeah. Okay, so you're ready to go on to season two?
I guess. I hope we gotta get through it in an hour.
Yeah, I think we can make it.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. Some of these we can just like shoot through these.
Yeah. Okay.
Because yeah, some of these are just bad. Some of these.
Okay, so no reason to waste time then.
Okay, go ahead. If you want to start with the first one.
Yeah, Your Shoes Untied. So this is a pretty simple episode. It kind of just I don't know if it's the show trying to be more applicable to children, but the entire premise of it is learning to tie your shoes, and it really is the closest to like anything that you could consider child programming. But SpongeBob, it wakes up and I think he's either going to work or he's with Patrick, and he doesn't know how to tie his shoes, and eventually it gets to a point where Gary comes in and. Gary has to teach him how to tie his shoes, and then it goes into a whole sing along, and
Yeah, it's a song. Yeah,
yeah, and
not a bad song.
and you whoop de whoop and pull, and your shoes
The
are
shoes are
looking good.
looking good.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all there is to that episode. Am I missing anything?
No.
Alright, cool. So that's that episode. And then the next episode we get Squid's Day Off. Do you remember
Oh
that
gosh, this is so like.
one? I don't like
This is
this
such
one.
a weird episode that I don't really like. It's annoying.
Uh,
Basically, yeah. So Mr. Krabs is absent. Squidward's like, "Screw it, I'm taking the day off," and he says, "I have to run errands." SpongeBob works the cash register. We see Squidward at home like tanning or something, and then he pictures the Krusty Krab in flames because SpongeBob is like doing something wrong.
mm-hmm.
And he comes back and he's like, "SpongeBob, are you okay?" And SpongeBob's just like, "Are you finished with those errands?"
Yeah, because Mr.
And he
Krabs
goes
leaves
back
Squidward
home.
in charge.
Yeah, he goes back home and he just repeats the cycle over and over again. And he loses his mind and he looks different over time. He's like animated and he looks really gross because it's like his eye,
Yeah.
one eye's bigger than the other, and he looks like he hasn't slept and he looks like he's done meth for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and eventually, it just turns out fine. He just deflates. Like his nose literally falls off and he deflates because everything's fine eventually.
Yeah, no, like it turned out that the close sign was on the Krusty Krab the entire time, so nobody was ever
Oh,
gonna come.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't remember it.
Oh, and it ends with SpongeBob remarking after he notices that he and Squidward could have just taken the whole day off. And that's obviously when his nose falls off.
Yo, we could have taken the whole day. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So that's pretty much all there is to Squid's Day Off. I kind of like it, and you kind of don't. Oh well.
I don't.
So yeah, then we have our next episode, 22A, Something Smells. This is either the episode that I really like or one that
I don't like this one either.
No, this isn't the one I thought it was. I was thinking this was the one where like it was a whole crime scene and like the guy chokes on the Krabby Patty, but that's not what this is. Basically, what happens in this episode is SpongeBob and Patrick are spending the day together, and SpongeBob, in preparation, wants to get a nice healthy meal to start his day, so he decides that he's going to have an ice cream sundae.
Because it's Sunday, like Sunday. He said it's like Sunday or something.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any ice cream, so he has to find a different base. So he uses a bunch of really stinky things. He uses onions, ketchup, and peanuts from the peanut plant.
That's right. That's like, ugh.
Yeah, and then eventually he just decides to dump the entire peanut plant in there with soil.
Yeah, and so he has ugly breath, like awful breath, and it's animated has like green nasty gas. And Gary hides, and he says he goes out, he's talking to people, he's happy, he's like, "Hi everyone," and everyone's like shriveling up and dying because it smells so bad.
Yeah.
Then he goes to Patrick. He's like, "Patrick, something's wrong with me." And Patrick tells him a story to try to cheer him up about the ugly barnacle.
Yeah.
Which is the story is there once was an ugly barnacle. He was so ugly that everyone died at the end. And SpongeBob was like, "What the heck, man?"
Yeah.
Because SpongeBob thinks he's ugly, not that he doesn't know his breath is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So Patrick takes SpongeBob to the roof and makes him exclaim, "I'm ugly and I'm proud." And then he feels better.
He feels empowered.
Yeah, and I think Patrick does something. No, Patrick doesn't have stinky breath either. He just goes with SpongeBob to help him assure himself he's ugly at a movie, and he's talking to people, and he talks to somebody, and the guy, the fish, makes an iconic SpongeBob noise.
Oh yeah, he's like,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
And then Patrick stands
he burns down the movie theater from his breath.
Yeah,
because everyone just it was like anarchy. Yeah, and he was like, we stink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Patrick eats the sundae too. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. They go back to this house. That's why
Yep,
Patrick.
and they yell and cheer, "We stink," and that's the end of the episode. So it's like accepting you're ugly, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. It is kind of weird.
Okay.
Oh, and like one of my favorite jokes from this episode was when SpongeBob eventually gets to Patrick, he can't find him, and like Patrick is on a park bench, and he's like, "Oh, there's this giant pile of gum on the park bench," and then Patrick comes out, he's like, "Oh, hey, SpongeBob."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's something smells. Good empowering.
This next one I don't remember much, other than like the redecorated Krusty Krab.
Yeah. As with a lot of these, I don't remember the lead up. Let's see. Oh, that's right. So he's basically Mr. Krab. It's at the Krusty Krab, and Mr. Krabs is doing his quarterly report, and he's like, "Oh crap, we're not getting enough money. We need to go and market to the younger audience." So he brings in his daughter as a consultant, and his daughter's like, "Hey, we need to do a bunch of really girly things to bring in teenage girls to the." Sorry, I'm reading the names that they were trying to come up with for the new Krusty Krab,
Mm-hmm.
and they eventually settle on the Cuddly Crab, and basically everyone in the restaurant's just made over to look like some place that's for kids that are way younger than her, which doesn't make much sense. And yeah, Squidward and SpongeBob get these goofy outfits that look like little cuddly caterpillars or something. Which
basically, yeah, it's a dumb episode. I don't remember how it ends.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember too. Oh yeah, Pearl eventually takes over as the boss for some reason. She tries to fire SpongeBob and Squidward's like, "We gotta conspire to get rid of what's happened to the Krusty Krab and get Mr. Krabs back." And eventually I'm trying to see how they managed to do that. Oh, that's right. They also changed the menu to only have salad and tea. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
So like a hipster restaurant.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And then I think eventually what happens is Mr. Krabs notices that like it didn't actually make any money, so he just fires her and it brings back everything, and he's like, "It'll cost you guys 1 year's salary."
Yeah, this is a bad episode. Just don't watch it.
Yeah, and just so I can list some of the names that they were coming up with for the new Krusty Krab, they had the Kooky Crab, the Cutie Crab, the Chaotic Crab with a K, the Kissy Crab, the King Crab, the Candy Crab, the Cool Crab, the Cowboy Crab, the Curly Crab, the Creepy Crab, the Killer Crab, and the Cuddly Crab, obviously.
The Creepy Crab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, it's not a good episode.
No, it's...
We talked about it too much. Please don't watch it. All right, I gotta hurry. All right, Big Pink Loser is just like I feel like it's just like a filler episode because we see SpongeBob has all these accolades from being a good worker and stuff. He has a trophy case that Patrick finds, and Patrick's like, "I want an award," and SpongeBob's like, "You can work at the Krusty Krab and get one." And SpongeBob tells him to act just like him, and then that gets out of hand because he does like he basically just starts copying him every action he does.
Yep.
Because the animations in sync and everything. So like, and he starts dressing like him, and basically they just get mad at each other. And Patrick does get an award, and he learns that he just needs to be himself and that he's not a loser. That's basically it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of substance behind this one. It's just, Patrick has a bit of self-esteem issues, and yeah. Okay, so that's Big Pink Loser. Nothing too special. Then we get to one that is much more special in the eyes of many fans, Bubble Buddy. So
I'm not a big fan of this one. Not really.
Yeah, neither am I, actually, but I think a lot of other people are.
People like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the premise here, it starts with one of the most famous jokes from SpongeBob, with him waking up and saying, "Hey everybody, it's Leif Erikson Day!"
Oh, that's that one, yeah.
Yeah, Hinga Dinga Dugan. And then
That's racist.
Yeah, and Leif Erikson was a terrible person.
Culturally insensitive.
Yeah, the Vikings were pretty violent. But that's not really important for this episode. So SpongeBob is looking for someone to play with him that day, so he goes around to Sandy, and Sandy's gone south for the winter. He goes to What else happens? He goes to Squidward's house, but Squidward's SpongeBob is knocking on the door, and he's like, "Hey, Squidward, do you want to come out?" And there's a post-it note on the door that says no. And then SpongeBob asks another question, and it says yes behind it. And he's like, "Oh, sweet, I get to play with him." And then he removes the next one, and it says no. So he's not playing with Squidward. And then I guess Patrick's just off doing his own thing. So he's trying to make a new friend. So he starts with a Stick Buddy. Stick Buddy just fell over, so that didn't really work. And then he gets Sink Buddy, and Sink Buddy doesn't do too much. And then eventually he makes Bubble Buddy. So Bubble Buddy is just like it's some dumb bubble thing where it's supposed to be like some humanoid person that's walking around and hanging out with SpongeBob, and it doesn't really move around at all yet. Apparently, it does in a later episode where the writers try to bring him back, but he's just going around and doing stuff with Bubble Buddy. I think he goes to the Krusty Krab at some point and hangs out with Mr. Krabs there, but he makes everyone angry, so he has to leave. And he goes to the beach, but then Bubble Buddy just starts ruining everything for some reason. And then all the townspeople try to pop Bubble Buddy, and SpongeBob's like, "No, he's my best friend." And then he eventually just comes to life and leaves.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually like the entire episode.
Yeah.
You didn't miss anything. All right.
Okay. And then we have Dying for Pie, which is actually one of my favorite episodes.
That's a good one for this season. All right. Basically, SpongeBob. Let me. This is probably going to be a big plot. There's a lot of stuff to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Employee Brotherhood Day at the Krusty Krab, and they all exchange gifts. And SpongeBob gives Squidward a sweater made out of his eyelashes, which is itchy, and then SpongeBob gives him a sweater of his tears because he's sad because he doesn't like the eyelash sweater.
Yeah.
So Squidward's like, "Oh, I don't have a gift," but there's a group of pirates outside selling pies, and Squidward's like, "I'm going to buy one." And so he buys one, and he says that they're the pirate says they're bombs, but they were apparently kidding.
Yeah.
So Squidward buys a pie for $25.
Was it 25? Oh yeah, it was 25.
Yeah, so they were kidding about the bomb part. So I keep saying all these random characters. Mr. Krabs is like, "Did you make this?" He inspects it, and he's like, "It's good, but it needs some milk." and he trips, and he drops the pie, and it's actually a bomb, so it explodes. And he was like, "You would have killed him." So when they get back to the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob acts like he ate the pie, but he didn't eat it. He ate a different one.
Yeah.
And so Mr. Krabs was like, "SpongeBob's gonna explode. You need to fix the
make his last day his best."
You have to do his wish list." And SpongeBob made a list where he wants to show Squidward to everybody in town, show Squidward to everybody in town in a salmon suit.
Yeah. That was a good one.
He wants to do knock-knock jokes, babble like an idiot, all you can do, I don't know if that is, trade faces, peel a gig, open heart surgery, dismemberments not seen but mentioned by Squidward. Goodness. And watch the sunset with Squidward.
Yeah. Do you want me to take over?
That's basically it. But eventually, so SpongeBob, doesn't eat the pie, but he still has it. Because it wasn't the pie that exploded, it was the tiny piece that he dropped.
Yeah.
That exploded. So Squidward's like, "You're going to die because of the pie," basically. And SpongeBob was like, "Oh, this pie," and he trips, and then Squidward explodes because the pie hit Squidward in the face.
Yeah. And really what I like about this episode so much is just like that, the Pickles episode, it does the same thing that was done for Mr. Krabs, where Mr. Krabs is made like a really parental figure, and he's shown to really care about SpongeBob's safety. Yeah. Like that happens in this episode, but that also happens for Squidward, where you see that Squidward really does care about SpongeBob, despite all that he does in some of the other episodes, and that he really wants them to have a good relationship, and he puts all of his energy in this day to make sure that SpongeBob has the best day that he can, and along the way he has a lot of fun with it. So yeah, that's dying for pie.
Also, yeah. When
Here,
Squidward
hold up.
explodes.
There we go. We're good.
Okay, the explosion. When Squidward got the pie in the face, they showed live action footage of an actual nuclear test, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because that's how big the explosion was. Anyways, let's go on to the next. Maybe we should just pick our favorites.
I don't. Do you want to just do half of season 2? Because we're not gonna make it through the whole thing.
What is half to 30?
Yeah, to 30.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do any of these a disservice. Yeah, we can just go. We'll go to.
I mean, that's basically it's the good part of SpongeBob.
Yeah, we'll go to I'm your biggest fanatic. Okay. So continuing, then we have Wormy.
This is a real good one right here.
Oh really?
This is the top 3 of the season. Yeah.
Ooh, I want to see what you think of this. You didn't get that cue, did you?
You having trouble?
No, I was one. Here, hold up.
What cue?
So yeah, Wormy. Yeah, basically what's happening in Wormy is.
Wait, is it Wormy?
Yeah, it's Wormy.
I thought it was Imitation of Crabs.
Oh, is it? Oh, my bad.
Yes.
Oh, this one's fun too.
Here, keep talking. I'll be right.
Yeah, sure. So basically, what's happening in Imitation Crabs is this is one of Plankton's new schemes to get the Krabby Patty formula. The writers usually go to this once every once every 10 episodes or so. So in this one, Mr. Krabs is it starts with Plankton impersonating some rich guy who wants to buy the Krabby Patty for $1 million, and it makes no sense. It's, obviously they see right through that. Mr. Krabs runs out and he's just like, no, you're Plankton, and then he kicks the guy out, and he's obviously correct. And then Plankton embarks on his next scheme where he's going to impersonate Mr. Krabs with a robot and then try and trick SpongeBob and Squidward into thinking that he's the real Mr. Krabs. So it starts with Plankton somehow getting into the back of the restaurant, and eventually he comes out to inspect SpongeBob while he's doing his fry cook duties, and he's just trying to get SpongeBob to tell him the secret recipe, saying that he forgot it somehow. And then he drops a penny. No, he drops a penny later, that's right. I know he has something robotic happen to him. What happens? Oh, that's right, Mr. Krabs, Plankton has a penny, and he's running, and he knows that he can distract Mr. Krabs with it, so he throws the penny out the window. And obviously, Mr. Krabs, being the cheapso that he is, runs out and chases after the penny down the street. So he does that, and yeah, Mr. Krabs is gone for a while, so Robot Krabs comes in, and he eventually convinces SpongeBob that he's the real Mr. Krabs. And then Squidward doesn't really give a crap. I don't know if he thinks that Mr. Krabs was gone or something, but I mean, it meant the day off for him, so he didn't really care. And then eventually the real Mr. Krabs comes back after a lot of attempts by Plankton to try and get SpongeBob to divulge the Krabby Patty formula. And he's threatening to blast one of the Mr. Krabs with tartar sauce, but he can't figure out which one is the real Mr. Krabs. So he's asking a bunch of questions, and he has to say what the prices of different menu items are, and Mr. Krabs gets it wrong. Mr. Krabs also gets a question wrong about SpongeBob's personal life. And there was one last question that Mr. Krabs also got wrong, and he gets blasted with tartar sauce and gets put on a platter for Hans. And then SpongeBob's like, I knew you were the real Mr. Krabs, Robot Krabs. And then the penny comes back, and for some reason Plankton put a coin slot in it, and that would automatically make him explode if it was put in, and SpongeBob thinks that he's doing him a service by giving him the penny back, so he puts the penny in the coin slot, and Plankton explodes. So yeah, that's pretty much the long and the short of Imitation Crabs. It's a pretty good episode.
An idiot.
Yeah, it's not too much to it, but it's an interesting Plankton plot all the same. So yeah.
All right, I'll explain Wormy, which is one I grew up with. I saw this on TV a lot. So basically, Sandy's out of town, and Sponge and Patrick have to babysit her pets, and the one they like is Wormy, which is a caterpillar, basically.
Yeah.
And so they get confused when it begins to metamorphosize, or is that how you say it? Metamorphosize? Yeah, metamorphosize into it's in a chrysalis, a cocoon, basically, and they're confused. They think it's dead, and then it hatches into a butterfly. And now, when they show the butterfly for the first time, they do a extremely close live action close up with like the butterfly's face with like buzzing behind it, and it's actually like really, it was scary for like kids.
Yeah, they didn't spare any expense on that stock footage.
Yeah, so that happened, and so they're like terrified. They think this thing is not Wormy and that it's a monster that ate Wormy.
Yeah.
And it manages to, it escapes the jar in a bubble, and it makes its way to the town, and it terrifies everybody because they say that there's a monster on the loose, and it's scary. So Sandy comes back to Bikini Bottom with the town in flames, literally.
Yeah.
Pretty sure, and she just takes Wormy and puts him in a jar again, and she explains everything, and then it's okay. So that's basically it.
Yeah, and it's just like Wormy just turned into a monarch butterfly and was just flying around the town in a bubble. It was a pretty weird episode, but it can be a bit nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we have Patty Hype. This is a pretty good episode. So you all probably, even if you haven't watched SpongeBob, you've probably seen pictures of like the artist. Like the little round thing that artists use to have like paint on it.
Mm-hmm.
What's that called?
A palette.
Yeah, like just the artist palette of Krabby Patties.
I think it's just palette.
Yeah, whatever it is, and like they're all different colors. And this is essentially the same plot as the one with Pearl previously, where Mr. Krabs is trying to figure out another gimmick to make some more money at the Krusty Krab. So he comes up with so he's asking his employees to tell him some ideas, and Squidward obviously doesn't have anything. And SpongeBob comes up with the idea to have colored Krabby Patties that will bring in new interest in the product. And Mr. Krabs laughs off the idea and says it's a terrible idea, and SpongeBob is very disheartened, and he doesn't believe Mr. Krabs. He's like, no, my idea's great. So he eventually just decides he's going to give up on his job at the Krusty Krab, and he's going to start his own patty business where he only sells what he calls pretty patties, which are just the multicolored Krabby Patties. So he goes back to his house and sets up like another bubble stand where he does this, and it's super popular. You see like a giant scene where there's like thousands of fish surrounding the thing. And just to give a scale, the writers put in something where SpongeBob it says that he's now serving the 46,853rd customer, and Mr. Krabs is like, "Ooh, I never had that many customers." And yeah, that's basically what happens. And Mr. Krabs is like, "I need the money from this. I'm gonna buy back the idea." So he buys it back from SpongeBob in exchange for these pickles. So I guess that's kind of harkening back to the pickles episode from the first one. So he gives it to SpongeBob, and SpongeBob loves squeaking them. So he it's like, oh, it's a deal. So yeah, they exchange that, and then shortly after Mr. Krabs brings back the pretty patties, it's discovered that they, like a good analogy would be that they're carcinogenous. So like everyone starts getting diseased, and Mr. Krabs is responsible now because he had just bought the product. So SpongeBob just got out from under that, and Mr. Krabs is trying to run from everybody who has like some kind of crazy thing going on. Everyone just turns the color of the Krabby Patties that they ate, I think.
And their tongues are different colors.
Yeah, and they eventually go back to the Krusty Krab with Mr. Krabs trying to bring back SpongeBob, and SpongeBob being like, no, I'm good. And SpongeBob eventually comes back for some reason. No, he never comes back. It just ends the episode with SpongeBob standing in front of the Krusty Krab, rubbing the pickles in his ear.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a funky episode.
Look what's under me kilt.
What? When did that happen?
He's like, look at what's under me kilt, and his skin color is like the same color as his kilt.
Oh, that's right. That was one of the people that ate like a plaid patty.
This dude had a glow in the dark tongue, and he broke the fourth wall by turning. There was like a pull down switch above his head that wasn't connected to anything. He pulled it, and it was dark except his glow in the dark tongue. He was like, "We want our money back."
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if they would deserve to have their money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty badass.
Oh, I don't like this one. This episode is so stupid.
You want to rant against it?
Wait. What you want? You saying you want me to do it?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was being subtle.
I'm gonna fly through this.
Okay.
SpongeBob, when he goes to his grandma's house, his grandma acts like he's like 6 years old, like he does what she's always done when there's a child, reads him stories and cuddles him and gives him cookies and milk. So, he gets kissed by Grandma too, which he likes. But one day when he goes to work, he gets a kiss from Grandma, and everyone in the Krusty Krab sees, and he gets teased and goes home. And SpongeBob explains what happens at the Krusty Krab to Patrick. And then they both go to Grandma's house, him and Patrick. And Patrick starts to learn if he acts like a baby, he gets like food and he gets like treatment, which makes SpongeBob jealous. And let's see, what was I going to say? Where does it go?
Pretty much where it goes is SpongeBob.
They both compete, like
they
for
compete
Grandma's
for
love.
attention. Yeah.
I mean, he's like, I don't want to grow up. Oh yeah, because his grandma made him do grown-up stuff because she was caring for Patrick, and she was like, I don't want to grow up. He wants to be a baby and not have to work and stuff. But Grandma said he doesn't have to be a kid to get Grandma's love, and then he gets a cookie and a hug and a kiss, and the people are laughing, but he doesn't care.
Yeah. And like some of the funny moments from this episode is where SpongeBob and Patrick are about to go into Grandma's house, and Patrick is like, I have just what you need. And he breaks out like a briefcase, and it is like just 2 pairs of sideburns.
Yeah.
So they put on the sideburns. And another funny thing was at the very end of the episode, instead of just letting his grandma kiss him on the forehead, SpongeBob has like this whole like helmet that he uses, and he just takes it off afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But really, this episode has a lot of good symbolism, or not symbolism. It has a good theme where it's really SpongeBob growing into it being an adult, and he has to be mature about things, and he realizes what his life is like, because he's always been a really immature person, but now he really has to confront that, and really he decides, no, I'm going to stay immature, I don't really care. Yeah, so that's Grandma's Kisses. Next we have Squidville. Squidville is an interesting episode. We really focus on Squidward here. So, as with most of these episodes, I completely forget how it starts. Let's see. Oh, that's right. So this is another one of Squidward's plots to move away from not Bikini Bottom, just whatever the neighborhood is with SpongeBob and Patrick. It starts with SpongeBob and Patrick messing with reef blowers again, referencing the first episode of the series. Second episode, sorry, I thought it was the first episode originally. And eventually Squidward gets sick of it, and he moves away for real this time. He moves to Tentacle Acres, which is just this gilded, enclosed, rich neighborhood where the only people there are little Squidwards.
Yeah, squids. Yeah.
Yeah, and Squidward feels at home there, but after a little while, it just goes through a whole montage of him doing the same thing every day. He buys canned bread. He just paints all the time. He doesn't really seem to work, which is kind of weird. You'd think he would have to pay rent or something, but that doesn't happen. And after a month passes, Squidward just can't really deal with having a peaceful life where he never has to have stress, so he wants to go back to the chaotic life that he used to have just so it would be interesting. So he eventually goes back, and yeah, he tries to leave the whole neighborhood. I think SpongeBob and Patrick come to visit him, and like they want to remind him that they're always an option, but Squidward doesn't want to admit that he wants them back, so he tries to play up a whole facade, and then eventually that's just abandoned, and he goes back to the original neighborhood, which I'm trying to find the name of, but I guess just as that, a neighborhood.
They live in Bikini Bottom. I don't think that it has a name.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And then we have Pre-Hibernation Week, which is probably one of the more intense episodes from the entire series.
This is just a. I don't like this one either. Well, basically, Sandy wants to hibernate, and before she hibernates, well, she doesn't want to hibernate. She has to, but every year before she hibernates, she does insane stunts, and she wants SpongeBob to participate this year in the insane stunts. So like that includes like skydiving and I can't think of anything else that they did. Oh, like find the like they did like the haystack and the needles.
Yeah, like they go on a bicycle ride through the industrial park.
Yeah, yeah. So SpongeBob eventually just like hides from Sandy, and Sandy's like, "Has anyone seen SpongeBob?" And people start looking for SpongeBob, thinking he's like gone missing. And so, yeah, basically SpongeBob hides. He's eventually found, and I think he wasn't he under Patrick's rock or something? Where
Yeah,
was
and I
he?
think I think he was naked too for some reason.
He was naked under Patrick's rock.
Yeah, but it wasn't really Patrick's rock, because that, and then he would have just been in Patrick's home. He was just under like the rock. And he was just hiding from everybody, and everyone was searching for him. And I don't know how he didn't get fired
I
from the
think
Krusty Krab, but
other people were hiding too. I
oh,
think.
that's right. Yeah, everyone was hiding with him. You could just see like all of the eyes, and
Yeah. Why were other people hiding?
because I don't know. I think she was like on a rampage through the
She
town.
was kind of unaware. Yeah. So everyone was hiding under Patrick's rock, including SpongeBob. Squidward calls them out, and they find SpongeBob. And then yeah. Then Patrick comes home with seeing eyes under his house, and he yells, "Who are you people?"
Yeah,
Also, Sandy commented she wants to go atom smashing before hibernation, but she doesn't.
good thing too. Yeah, no, that was it wasn't a great episode, but it was pretty interesting, and that it's interesting because it seems like that was kind of the whole thing with season two.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of great episodes, but then a lot of just mediocre episodes too.
Yeah. All right. So what's the next one?
Ooh, Life of Crime. This one is a good episode.
It's good, but it's not. I don't think it's top 3.
No, it's probably not top three, but it has a lot of competition in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can talk about this one. So in this episode, SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs are watching a crime movie at the Krusty Krab. They aren't really doing their jobs. And Mr. Krabs is trying to teach SpongeBob a lesson and be like, oh, look at those bad people. They're stealing things. Don't be like that, SpongeBob. And then Patrick's there all of a sudden. And he's like, oh, can I borrow something? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then that's obviously the example where SpongeBob can say, oh, this is what I need to do. So then SpongeBob and Patrick the next day, I guess it's the weekend or something, they're going around the town, just hanging out or something. And then they see a balloon stand, and it's left unattended, and Patrick's like, ooh, we need to borrow that balloon. So they just steal the balloon, and then they run away, and then the balloon pops, so they obviously can't give it back. And like they're like, oh no, we're thieves now, and then they know that they can't stay in Bikini Bottom, so they run away. They literally run away. And you can see that in the episode, and then like they're in the middle of nowhere on a cliff overlooking Bikini Bottom. They have like this whole campfire, and they start missing everything, and then they start looking at the positives. And here are the 5 positives they give: that they never have to, they can loosen their ties, they can fly, not really, they never have to shave, they can talk tough, and they never have to return anything that they borrow again. And then basically the whole thing is SpongeBob and Patrick realize that they think that the life of crime is fun, but then they realize they don't have any food. So SpongeBob has 2 candy bars, and he thinks that's going to last him forever. But Patrick eats one of them in one bite, and then he tries to eat the other one, but SpongeBob's like, "No, you fatso, you don't need to." Well, yeah, it's more so Patrick that's commenting on that because like they do like a whole camera pan where Patrick is really mad that he's not gonna get to eat the other one. He's like, "I'm gonna starve now."
And he's fat. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Patrick thought SpongeBob ate his bar.
yeah, and like he thinks he stole something, and now they've turned against each other just like in Sandy's rocket, and they go and try and tattle on each other. So they run back to Bikini Bottom to the police station, and then while they're tattling on each other, and like it's kind of silly, the police officer's like, "What are you guys yelling about?" And then they say they stole a balloon, and then the officer's like, "Oh no, guys, you hear that? They stole a balloon on National Free Balloon Day."
Yeah, and they're like laughing.
Yeah, and they get
That's
it.
basically it.
Yeah. So this is kind of the series' second parlay into trying to teach kids morals.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of works better than the last one. So yeah. And then
Oh boy, I get to do
the next hour-long special.
Christmas Who is it's a half-hour special, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, an hour. Gosh.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of SpongeBob.
Yeah. All right, so it's a half-hour special about Christmas, and so Bikini Bottom believes in Santa just like we believe in Santa. So basically, SpongeBob's going around telling people on Christmas to write letters to Santa, and he has this machine that shoots bottles through the surface to fulfill Christmas wishes. And Squidward's not into it, and he doesn't want to write a letter. And so eventually, when everyone's letter's at the surface, SpongeBob was like, "Wait, Squidward hasn't written one," and he sprints to Squidward, and it's like basically writing one for him, and he's like, "I don't want one." And SpongeBob was like, "Fine." And they decorated this big tree, and they were all singing around it whole night on Christmas Eve, and they were expecting Santa to come.
Yeah,
and
Santa's coming tonight. Santa's coming tonight.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, Santa never comes.
Yeah. Don't they try and make another Santa special later on?
What?
Don't the writers try and make another Christmas special later on?
Yeah, but it's like claymation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Please continue.
Okay, so like, yeah, everyone's like bummed, and they're mad at SpongeBob for like getting them to believe. And SpongeBob's like so sad and crying. And Squidward was like, "I told you so, Santa's not real," because he never thought he was real in the first place. And he was like, SpongeBob was like, "Oh, I got you this in case Santa didn't come." And so he got a wooden clarinet that was like really nice.
Yeah.
And then Squidward was like, I feel like a, and then a picture of a donkey is on the screen.
Oh yeah, that was a great one.
So that's a good gag. So he's like, "I gotta do something." So Squidward dresses up as Santa and gives SpongeBob something and pretends to be Santa. And SpongeBob's like, "You look different and whatever, because your nose is huge and you're skinny."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Never mind that, I'll give you this gift." And he gives him some gift. I don't really remember.
Yeah, I think he just starts giving people things from his house.
Yeah, and then so someone sees him do that, and other people see him give other people gifts. So there's like, he gives away everything in his house, basically. So he gives people like mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I was like, my new hair, and puts mashed potatoes on this woman's head. Yeah, so that's basically it. And then eventually he was selfless, and then he sees Santa in the sky. He's like, "Thank you, Squidward, ho ho ho." That's basically it. Christmas spirit.
Yeah, it just ends with Squidward being like, "Yep, I've lost it," because he still doesn't believe in Santa.
And then he plays his wooden clarinet, which he actually sounds good on.
Yeah, it's like the one episode where that's the case.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a pretty good holiday episode, all things considered. Did you like it better than the Halloween one?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
You're lucky you get this. Next one is like this is in my top 5, like, of all time.
Ooh, survival, really?
Yes, it's a great one. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. It's kind of average.
You thinking about the gags that are in there?
Yeah, I know. It's got Pinhead Larry, and that's pretty much it.
No, Dirty Day. No. What about the open sesame?
Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe I need to rethink this one. So what's happening in this episode is this is like one of the few episodes where the show really sticks with its own timeline. So this is continuing after hibernation week, where Sandy is getting ready for hibernation. She's now hibernating, and it's the middle of winter in her tree dome. And SpongeBob and Patrick are running over to the tree dome to go play with Sandy, because they've obviously forgotten that she's hibernating. But like everything is covered in metal, and it has a big keep out sign that they obviously ignore, so they go into the tree dome. And video plays saying that Sandy is hibernating and she should be left alone during this time. And Patrick really pushes SpongeBob to go in anyways because he doesn't really care. So they open the door and everything is snowing inside of the tree dome. So that's interesting because SpongeBob and Patrick obviously have never seen snow or they'd be dead. So they're playing in the snow and they don't really have to worry about wearing one of those glass helmets. Cause...
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
There was snow in the Christmas special.
Oh, good point.
So I don't know. But didn't they act like they've never seen it before?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, plot hole.
Ooh, you got them. But yeah, they see the snow. They don't have to worry about wearing any fish bowls because the snow is obviously water, and they're just running around playing in the snow. And then they hear Sandy breathing heavily, to understate it. So they want to go investigate because they don't really know it's Sandy. So they go in her tree dome and they see this giant thing.
She's like a monster, like a 20 foot tall, 10 foot wide like monster.
Yeah, because she had just been eating all that time to try and
Yeah,
get ready for hibernating. So she looks gigantic, and they're like, "What the heck is this thing?" And they're poking it, and then like she just growls, and they're like, "Okay, we should leave this thing alone." So I think they just head back outside, and then they start throwing snowballs at each other, and then I forget who starts it, but I think SpongeBob's like, "Oh, I'm Dirty Dan, Patrick," and then
all right, Pinhead, your time is up.
yeah, and then like they do this whole Western gag where like they're
Mm-hmm.
pretending they're Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry, and they're both competing to be Dirty Dan.
They're hitting each other with giant objects made of snow, like an actual shovel, like
Yeah,
a huge shovel.
like a baseball bat with a nail in it.
Literally, yeah, just like gigantic.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And there's this really funny shot of Patrick where he's like, "Who are you calling Pinhead?"
it's literally so perfect.
Yeah, that's a great one. And then that eventually wakes Sandy up, and Sandy just roars. She comes outside, and she's like, "Okay, who's the real Dirty Dan?" And Patrick's like, "Oh, I am." And then Sandy
He gets
just
his head ripped off.
yeah, it's right. She literally ripped off the cone, and SpongeBob just squeals and he runs away, and Sandy's chasing after him, and then they start running on the hamster wheel, and then they start running in other places, and SpongeBob realizes he's probably dead, and
Yeah, they get like brutally mauled,
yeah,
and then she goes back to bed.
yeah, and then like they wake up from their snow graves, and they're like, oh, and then they're freezing obviously because who knows how long they were buried in that snow. So
Yep.
they try to get warmed up. So they go back into the treehouse and they start prodding Sandy again. She starts yelling again. So they're like, oh, we need to steal some of this fur. So Patrick gets like this giant roll of masking tape. I think it was
Gosh.
SpongeBob actually.
Oh,
Oh wait, no.
yeah,
First they're trying to rip off part of the tree to use as a coat, but that doesn't work because that's waking up Sandy. So they instead
yep,
decide to rip off her fur with masking tape and tape that onto themselves.
which works. She stays asleep.
Well, no, she doesn't really stay. She's like, "Rawr!" And then she goes right back to sleep. But yeah,
Oh, I thought she was asleep though, like half asleep.
no, because they
Sort of.
have like this really good zoom out shot where like the entire thing is shaking, and she's like, ah, ah, because they keep ripping
Yeah,
off her fur.
yeah, yeah.
And then SpongeBob and Patrick stay in the tree dome the entire time. And then it eventually becomes, well, not right before it becomes spring. SpongeBob and Patrick are excited because they're gonna finally get to spend some fun time in this winter. And now it turns to spring.
Yeah, like everything melts in like 3 seconds, and they hear Cindy wake up,
Yeah,
and she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to feel my fur in the spring air." And
yeah.
they're
I think
panicking.
she is just completely shaved off, and
Yeah,
it looks like some sheep that was fleeced.
and she gets so mad.
Yeah, and then it ends with her using SpongeBob and Patrick as warmth, and her drinking
Yeah,
tea, and she's like, "Ah, the spring sure is nice."
yep. And they're like, "Oh."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one of
Don't forget
the
about the other gag of Pat back.
oh yeah, Pat back. I forgot.
This is disturbing.
Yeah, they're impersonating Sandy or something.
Or yeah, he just wanted to tell SpongeBob there's something more disturbing than Sandy.
Yeah, that's right. And
Hello,
then the open
SpongeBob.
sesame thing
My
comes
name
when
is
they're
Pat.
eventually trying to escape from the door, and it's just frozen shut. And Patrick's like, "I got this." And he's like, "Open sesame." Well, that
And it's
didn't
like
work.
his animation's so pointy and it's nice.
Yeah,
It's like, well, that's the best I can do.
yeah, yeah. On second thought, this is a really good episode.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
Okay,
All right,
so
Dumped. I remember Dumped. I can explain it, but I don't like it.
good. I don't remember it.
All right, Dumped.
Oh, now I
All
do.
it,
Okay, yeah. Please continue.
oh, okay. So yeah, SpongeBob and Patrick are over there playing games. Basically, Gary meets Patrick, and like really, there's something about Patrick that we see Gary take interest in. Patrick sleeps over, and Patrick wants to leave, and Gary is like stuck on his shoulder and head. He doesn't want to leave Patrick, and out of jealousy, SpongeBob gets like I think a new snail or like a worm or something.
Yeah.
Just to show like to get Gary, showing Gary I don't care.
Yeah, and that
And
worm
then like
eventually
he buys
reappears as
Gary
Mr.
like
Krabs'
accessories
pet.
like a ball and snail food. It doesn't work. Yeah. So basically, he's just sad because like Gary doesn't basically doesn't like SpongeBob anymore because Patrick, and none of his other pets are really like getting along with him.
Yeah.
There's a funny gag. He got a mean snail named Larry and Gary and Jerry, who was in his pocket, who was an actual like a garden snail that just fit in his hand. So it's like a fourth wall breaking of the terrestrial world.
Yeah.
So basically, Patrick comes back over, and so I'm trying to talk to Gary. Patrick's doing laundry. So when Patrick takes his shorts off to do laundry, Gary goes to his shorts, and Patrick's like, he only liked me for my shorts. But there was a cookie in Patrick's pocket that Gary wanted, so that's it.
And then Gary just goes back to SpongeBob. And
yeah.
Now Patrick's the one that's not wanted.
Patrick yells, "I thought what we had was special."
Yeah.
So poor Gary.
Yeah. This is a much
not poor
better...
Gary, poor Patrick.
Yeah. I think Gary gets off pretty well in this episode. But this is a much better representation of SpongeBob losing Gary than the other one, which was like another half-an-hour special where like this weird elderly fish abducts Gary, and it's just a really strange episode, but this does a much better job with the subject matter.
It's got the best song in SpongeBob history, though.
As far as you're concerned, what about Bang Geeks?
That's not a song. Well, it's kind of from SpongeBob, but it's a real song. Like, Where's Gary is from, like, made straight from scratch for SpongeBob. That I like. Also, yeah, I freaking love that Jerry gag. He's like, I have another snail, Gary. His name's Jerry, and he takes it out, and it's tiny. It's a real garden snail, just like in his pocket. Photorealistic. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, and they ended up bringing back that worm as Mr. Krabs' pet.
That's right. I forgot his name, but yeah.
He doesn't matter too much. Yeah, it's a good episode. Okay, I wonder what's next.
The last two. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, let's see. No free rides.
I don't remember this.
No, I don't either. I'm trying to see which one. There's been so many failed driving tests at this point. Okay, it's this one. It's the one with his parents. Okay. So basically what happens is SpongeBob is doing his final test for driving again, and he fails spectacularly. He needed a 600 to pass the test, and he got 6. So SpongeBob's really excited because he gets to spend another year with Mrs. Puff, and Mrs. Puff is dreading it. So she thinks of some extra credit assignment to give him so that he can pass the class and be got out of her hair, which is really cheating. It's like any teacher that wants to give a bunch of extra credit assignments just because the guy was skipping class all year.
Yeah.
So she wants him to write a 10-word essay on what he likes about boating school. And SpongeBob gets really stressed out about it, just as he always seems to in the class, and he's like, oh, I can't think of anything to write. And then he has to sharpen his pencil, and then he gets a pen, and then he gets nervous because it's the most permanent writing utensil. And he just can't think of anything, and Mrs. Puff eventually jumps on his back and is trying to get him to write something. And eventually they break the desk, and Mrs. Puff is like, oh, I didn't really care anyways. I'll just accept this as only 5 words. And yeah, that's how it ends. She gives him his boating license, and then he goes back to his house, and his parents are with him, and they celebrate it, and Mrs. Puff... Oh, wait, no, they bring the party to her. So, Mrs. Puff walks into her house, and SpongeBob's parents are there. There's, a giant cake for her. And SpongeBob's parents are congratulating her on getting SpongeBob through the class, and Mr. Puff... Not Mr. Puff, I don't know, Mr. SpongeBob, I guess. Just walks up and kisses her, and then, it's a really awkward thing where, his wife is like, oh, dear. And he's like, "Oops." And like they keep congratulating her, and they're like, "Oh, we can't wait to see SpongeBob on the road tomorrow." And then she starts dreading it. And she's like, "Oh, what have I done? I've released this menace to the world." And then
Mm-hmm.
she has like a nightmare of him running over everybody, and like the newscaster coming on and being like, "Who passed this person?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty
That's
much how that goes. And then
I thought you were almost going to go down like the procrastination episode route, where he has to write something.
oh no, and here we're just go from there. Okay, Mrs. Puff feels guilty, so she realizes she has to steal SpongeBob's car, which doesn't make much sense, but I mean it's a funny plot anyways. So she's like in a big burglar outfit, and she sneaks up to SpongeBob's car, and she's about to steal it, and then for some reason she blows up a balloon animal and just throws it out the window. And she's going to steal it, and then she realizes she doesn't have. Is it that she doesn't have the keys to the car?
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
Either way, and she isn't getting away with it. SpongeBob hears it or something, and he looks out the window and he sees the car. He doesn't see Mrs. Puff in it for some reason, and he goes down in the car. And he's like, "Hi, Bodie," and he's just having a moment with it. And then
Oh,
Mrs.
I remember that. Yeah, 'cause she dressed up in a ski mask, and it's like,
Yeah, it's a giant ski
yeah,
mask.
and they fight, and he's like a radio. He's the radio.
Yeah, and like she keeps trying to kick him out of the car and get away, and he keeps jumping back on, and like she brings him through
Mm-hmm.
more and more perilous tasks. He drives her. She drives him through cheese graters. What else?
Yeah,
Some other
rock.
thing.
I know there's rocks and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the rocks, and then eventually educational television. And that gets him gone. And then he turns into the radio. Obviously, pops out, and then they're yanking the wheel, trying to steal back control, and nobody's really getting control. And I think they eventually crash. And I don't really remember how it ends from there. Let's see.
Well, they crash, and Mrs. Puff gets arrested, and SpongeBob has to go back to boating school.
Oh, gotcha. And yeah, that basically ends the story right where it started.
The whole series ends the series.
Yeah, that's the end. That'd be a pretty crappy finale. Yeah.
All right.
And then we have one final episode for today. We have I'm Your Biggest Fanatic.
This is a good one right here, folks.
Ooh.
All right, so basically SpongeBob and Patrick are at a jellyfish convention, and SpongeBob's biggest hero is here. His name's Kevin. He's like
this one. Yeah.
Kevin the sea cucumber, and he's like a jellyfishing legend, basically. And so Kevin really doesn't like him because he's annoying, and he's like, "Will you do whatever I say, SpongeBob?" And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "Jump off a building," and we see SpongeBob jump off the roof of the building and come back, which is kind of funny. So, SpongeBob wants to ask if he wants to join the Jelly Spotters, and Kevin wants to humiliate him in public in front of the Jelly Spotters too. So he's like, "Yes." SpongeBob goes into cardiac arrest and then is revived.
Yeah.
By the fish doctor. So, Kevin's like testing him at jellyfish fields later, and SpongeBob is told by Kevin to go catch the jellyfish, and then the jellyfish just flies into his net. Kevin smacks it out, and he gets stung.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens when he says 2 jellyfish, and then he gets stung again. Kevin says 20 jellyfish, then 18 jellyfish fly into the net. Let's see, and then Kevin kicks the net, making all the jellyfish sting him. I guess it says 18 jellyfish just because that's how much the animation like showed. But I'm sure there were 20. Basically, he got stung. He had more tests and he passed them all, and he gets stung after everyone. Kevin does. And then so he says, "SpongeBob, you're gonna catch a queen jellyfish by being the bait." And so for 4 hours he does something and nothing happens, and then the queen jellyfish comes out after 4 hours, and then he can't catch it because it's way too big. It's gigantic. But then SpongeBob finds out the queen jellyfish is robotic and controlled by Kevin, and basically they're like,
wait, no, that's the king jellyfish, right?
Wait.
Oh no, the queen. Yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, it's the queen is a robot by Kevin. Basically, the king jellyfish, who apparently is named Nigeria Rex, which is kind of cool. falls in love with the robot and tries to kiss her, but Kevin's like, no, and they run away. The queen jellyfish crashes, and then the king jellyfish, basically chases Kevin and SpongeBob and zaps Kevin. SpongeBob confronts him and is fine. And then, that's right, he blows him a pie bubble for him to eat. And then King Jellyfish leaves. And then in the end, Kevin says SpongeBob's not in the club because he didn't catch a jellyfish. And then the anchovies are like, "What the heck? You should be the leader." And then it found out Kevin's crown is actually hair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Patrick also abducted a person.
Oh yeah, like he abducted the jellyfish mascot.
Yeah.
Jeffrey the jellyfish. So yeah, that's the first 30 SpongeBob episodes. Let's see, how should we wrap this up? What did you learn today, Bailey?
What did I learn? I learned about, I knew there were plenty of gags in SpongeBob, but some of them I didn't know what episodes they were in. So,
yeah.
I learned Naughty Nautical Neighbors is a really good episode. Alright, now that I'm remembering it.
Yeah, and I learned that I have to rewatch April Fools, because that one seems like a really good episode.
I need to rewatch, actually I don't really know. I know April Fools. There's other ones. I'll have to watch Nature Pants, I guess, to see how good it is.
Yeah. Okay, so that was pretty fun. Well, yeah, I hope you guys thought it was fun as well. Thank you all. Yeah. All right, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you use, especially if you use iTunes. It's the only way it helps us move up the rankings, and it's the only way we get more of you guys. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.